And welcome to the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting of the City of Troy Planning Commission. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available at the entrance to the room. Agendas and minutes of prior meetings are available on the city website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented or amended by this Planning Commission.
State law establishes planning commissions. This planning commission is comprised of 9 residents appointed to serve our community. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. Other individuals participating in the meeting include representatives of the city's planning department, city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Wortman and Associates.
If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please come forward to the lectern when recognized and clearly print your name and address on the sign-in sheet. Please begin your remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the Planning Commission and not to anyone else in the room. If you have a cell phone or any other device that might disrupt this meeting, please either switch it to silent mode or turn it off. At this time, I ask the Planning Commission Recording Secretary, Kathy Zarnicki, to conduct the roll call.
Mr. Buechner?
Here.
Mr. Faison?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Krent?
Here.
Mr. Lambert?
Here.
Ms. Malala-Holly?
Here.
Ms. Parakis?
Here.
Mr. Tagle?
Here.
And quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Yep.
I'll move.
Thank you. And seconded by Mr. Lambert. I think we're ready. Does anyone have any comments? Okay. I think we're ready.
Madam Chair, I missed who moved
Oh, Mr. Faison, sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala-Holly?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Buechner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next is approval of the minutes from our October 22nd, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion? Yep, Mr. Buechner. With a second. Oh, by Mr. Fox. Any discussion, edits, corrections? Okay, I think we're ready for the roll call.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala-Holly?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Buechner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comment for items that are not on the agenda tonight. If anyone is here to talk about something that is not on tonight's agenda, please come forward. Go ahead and sign in. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Hendrickson. I'm a 35-year resident of Troy, and I'm here tonight. First of all, I want to say that I read your 166-page packet tonight to make sure that this is where I fall, and I thank you all for doing that twice a month. That's pretty great. I'm here tonight to share enthusiasm about the Kmart property that's coming up. I was in Europe. I think I sent an email to the commission, and I don't know if we've shared it or not, but I've been lucky to travel in Europe quite a bit. And from Pompeii to Dresden to all the cities across this globe, every single city across the globe has a piazza, a plaza, a square, something that connects community. And I am ever hopeful that when the property at Kmart comes up to your attention, that is something that you will consider greatly. Now, I understand this is a private property and that they will do what they're going to do, and taxes are part of that. But the idea of a place of community and gathering, to me, I think is what's missing in Troy. Not that I think there's much missing here, but as a 35-year resident, I think that's one thing that would really be great for our community. And I wanted to take just a minute and share a few comments from an article that was written by a professor from the University of Melbourne, entitled Neighborhood Living Rooms, What We Can Learn from European Squares. And in this article, she says, public plazas that offer opportunities for incidental interaction help build healthier and less isolated communities. When done right, plazas are nodes of vibrancy and help contribute to the identity of an area. By acting as a neighborhood living room, they offer a place of gathering and belonging where informal connections can grow. What makes a good square? Influential architects suggest that they should be smaller than one might imagine so that they are not windswept voids, providing a sense of intimacy yet big enough to still feel open and lively. Convenient and varied places to sit with the focal point like a fountain provide entertainment for all. These shared spaces can hold the key to improving physical and mental health and increasing civic pride. These interactions between friends and strangers can decrease a sense of loneliness and increase a sense of belonging to the community, and it is important for societal well-being. Successful neighborhood squares encourage lingering and interaction. They bring an area to life and give the community a space in which everyone is invited to belong. I think that's important in a time and in a suburb where we are backyard people. We're not front porch people anymore. And so if there's a place where we can go and recognize a face on a continued basis, even if we don't really know them, we feel that we are interacting with goodwill. And if ever there was a time in our life when we need goodwill in interaction with our neighbors, I think we all believe that is now. And so when the time comes, I know that Mr. Savanant told me that you're going to have a public forum, there's going to be a city council forum, there's going to be lots of opportunities, I hope, for there to be community engagement here. But I just would love to plant the seed to you all that if this worked for 2,000 years, and civilizations across the globe for centuries thought this was a good idea, and in Dresden, where I went, where the city was bombed into oblivion, and one of the most important things they did was rebuild the city square to bring back their community. If they think that was important, and they still continue to think that's important, I think we should think that's important too. So I hope that that seed will plant in you when we start to talk about the Kmart property, and hope that the property owner will understand the importance of that to the people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming and sharing that with us. I urge you to watch back I don't remember the date that Mr. Forbes came, but he came to our meeting and came for feedback and gave his vision. And because it is a PUD, a planned unit development, we can ask for certain things, and that actually is some of the feedback that we gave for him to create sort of a plaza. So I think we all sort of agree with that sentiment, but thank you for the description and words. Is there anyone else here for anything that's not on public comment, for items not on the agenda? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item, which is a special use and preliminary site plan review, SU JPLN 2024-25. It's a proposed adult foster care small group home, up to 10 residents, west side of John R., south side of Abbotsford. Address is 5589 John R., PIN 88-20-12-152-003, Section 12, currently zoned R1C, which is one family residential zoning district. And I believe Mr. Savanant.
Yeah, I'll do this presentation. You'll remember that this item was before the Planning Commission on August 27th, 2024. We had a public hearing on the item. The petitioner presently owns and operates an adult foster care family home with 6 adults, and she's been operating that facility for quite some time. She wants to expand from 6 residents to 10 residents by converting her existing garage, adding 4 bedrooms, and making it a maximum of 10 residents.
Mr. Savanant, I'm very sorry to interrupt, but Mr. Fox.
Yes, yeah, I had a chance to speak with Julie before the meeting.
You jumped in too fast.
So from what I understand from Ms. Dufresne, we did review the ordinance. Now, previously I was under the impression that since I voted on this at the ZBA, I should recuse myself in this meeting. However, after reviewing the ordinance, it looks like the reverse is the only thing that the ordinance technically mandates. So if I vote on something here in Planning Commission, I then do not vote on it in ZBA. Doesn't work the other way officially. I am comfortable recusing myself if that's something the Planning Commission deems necessary or appropriate, but as it currently stands, I do not need to per the ordinance. So I just wanted to raise that question for y'all, see if there's a collective nodding that we're all good, and then let Mr. Savanant continue. Okay.
Thank you for
you're
sharing.
good.
Everyone good?
Sorry. We're too fast.
Sorry for not picking up on the cue at the appropriate time. So the applicant seeks special use approval for the assisted living facility for up to 10. Now, you'll recall that there's a requirement in the ordinance for assisted living facilities that there be 4,000 square feet per residence. So by ordinance, the facility would require 40,000 square feet, but she only has approximately 38,000 square feet. She went before the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance from this requirement, October 15th, was successful, so is back in front of the Planning Commission for special use approval. Again, we have already opened and closed the public hearing to solicit comment. You will recall that there are a number of emails for public comment, and all of them are in favor. I don't recall in my career here in over 22 years where there was an assisted living facility where we notified all the single-family residential neighbors within 300 feet. Nobody showed up, and we got 25 emails, all of them in support. So that, I think, to me, is an indication that Teresita runs a top-shelf facility. So that's my very brief presentation. Teresita Sandoval is here, the applicant, to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Savanah before we ask? Yep, go ahead.
I thought I saw on the drawing that not 10, but there are 9 bedrooms.
There are 10. They're
There are
proposed
10?
a maximum of 10.
Okay. I just didn't see where number 10 was.
Yeah, it's in there. I had the same, when I first looked at it, I missed it as well, but she proposes 10.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to?
Yes.
Of course, go ahead and just sign in.
Sure. My name is Teresita Sandoval, and the address is 5589 Jonah Road. So if you allow me to answer that question, you see 9 rooms because our room number 1, it's for a double. Right now we have 6 bedrooms working for the last 11 years. And so the ones that we are adding in the garage is 4 more. So that will bring us to 10. I hope that answers the question. And as you remember me, I was here a few weeks ago, and I was preparing for my variance meeting. Thank you so much for giving me that heads up to prepare. And one thing that I found out through my research is the United Census. The United Census Bureau, they have an article saying that America is aging into a housing crisis. And they just give some numbers that I did not know last time that I was here. So they said that between 2012 and 2022, the older population grew 34%, 22. And now they are projecting a huge increase because our baby boomers, our oldest baby boomers, our first baby boomers, are turning 80 in 2026. So we are not even a year and a month far from having this crisis being probably seen here more often than what it is right now because of the population. I mean, we were planning of all this housing for younger families, but what about now the needs of our older adults? And even I got an article from Bloomberg saying that the vice president for AARP, they said we have to do something. The communities are facing the need to adapt. And that's exactly what I'm doing with the facility. We are adapting to these needs. And the other very article that I read was from Harvard asking the government to support in different forms this need. And I cannot be more proud than what I am from what I had for my variance meeting. I have to say I was very nervous for that meeting because I have read things, I have heard things, and I was like, oh my goodness. But you know what, it wasn't easy. I had people that said no. But everybody understood that there is this need, and that if we don't change the ways we do things, what are they going to do? And it's our responsibility. And here's the last thing I want to share with you. And I read this from the Bloomberg article. The government, the public, and the private sectors are crucial to ensure that our nation's more vulnerable older adults are able to age with dignity.
Thank you very much for that. I also want to say that I'm only one vote, but I'm happy to approve this for you because I think you're doing excellent work and you just described how it's very well needed. But I do want to also say that it's only as good as the people behind the building, and the recommendations and the support that you've received from the community speaks volumes to you as a person and the type of business that you run. So I do want to thank you personally because it's such an important job that you do, and I only wish that you were around for my own father who needed something like that. But
thank you.
these are very important jobs, and you clearly do a wonderful job. So thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone have Mr. Fox?
Yeah, after having the opportunity to see you present on 3 different occasions now, I just want to echo Chairwoman Parakis's note of you should be proud of yourself. There are people who their entire career is coming in front of boards like this, and some of them have given significantly worse presentations than you have. So you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of the support that you've got from the community. The lack of opposition, obviously, we've all seen, really speaks a lot. So I'm looking forward to approving this. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone else have any questions for our applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'll open it up for discussion. Yep, Mr. Fox?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Let me get to that item.
Page 11.
Page 11, thank you. I wasn't even thinking I'd be here, so. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve special use and preliminary site plan approval, proposed adult foster care small group home, west side of John R. Road, south side of Abbotsford, 5589 John R., PIN 88-20-12-152-152-003, Section 12, currently zoned R1C zoning district. Whereas the applicant received a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals on October 15th, 2024, granting relief from the minimum site area requirements of Section 6.02.b of Chapter 39 of the zoning ordinance, and the variance permits the adult foster care small group home to accommodate up to 10 residents. Resolve the special use approval and preliminary site plan approval for the proposed John R. I repeated myself. Small group home, west side of John R., south of Abbotsford, Section 12, currently zoned R1C, be granted.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Ms. Malala Holly seconded. Any discussion? Okay, we're ready for the roll call.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malala Holly?
Yes?
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Biegner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Special use approval and preliminary site plan review, SU JPLN 2024-007. It's the proposed L Car Wash, northwest corner of Long Lake and DeQuinder. Addresses 2955 and 2995 East Long Lake. Section 12, currently zoned Neighborhood Node J zoning district. And I believe Mr. Carlisle will present.
Yes, I have a very brief presentation tonight. The El Car Wash was before the Planning Commission at a previous meeting. Just a little background, the site is located at the northwest corner of Long Lake and DeQuinder. It's currently JJ's Bistro. The subject site is zoned NN Neighborhood Node, and the applicant is proposing a car wash with a second-story office space. We do note that car washes do require a special use approval. However, office space is permitted by right. The Planning Commission discussed this at their October 22nd meeting, and there was a lengthy discussion on the use of the second floor space, issues of access, issues of use, issues of how in perpetuity we would remain an office use. There was discussion about the feasibility, the market for a car wash, as well as the compatibility of a car wash in the neighborhood node zoning district. There was discussion on traffic impact, gateway signage and the welcome sign logo, the architectural building materials and color scheme, and lastly, a consideration by the applicant towards the end of the meeting to consider engaging with additional mixed use on the site. So we do note, since the last meeting, the applicants made some changes to the site plan. First is they've relocated the second floor parking adjacent to the building. We do note that previously those spaces were kind of located behind the vacuum area, so you had to walk through the vacuum area to get to the second floor. So again, now office users do not have to cross the vacuum spaces to get to the building, as well as there was concern about the access to the stacking area for the car wash off of Long Lake. So to do so, they shortened up the curb line adjacent to the stacking area to allow for a smoother curve or turn into that stacking area. The third significant change is they've added a significant amount of additional features to the hard corner of DeQuinter and Long Lake. They have extended the paved area of both along DeQuinter and Long Lake. And I think, I wouldn't say it's double, but it's pretty close to double what it was previously. They've added some benches, they've added a bike repair station, and they've also added a seasonal outdoor kitchen bar area. We had asked for a little more detail about what that entails, and so I'd asked them to kind of present a little more detail about what their thought is behind that outdoor kitchen space. The other issue I do want to note is that the previous application only had 25 vacuum spaces, and I count 30 vacuum spaces, so I think they've added 5 additional vacuum spaces. We did have a question about the need for vacuum spaces at 25, so we have even more questions about the need for 30 vacuum spaces, but again, the applicant should clarify the need for the additional vacuum spaces. The elevations from our review really haven't changed from the first review. It's the height of 32 feet, and the exterior colors are white, gray, with magenta and blue accents. The applicant notes in their narrative that they've replaced the proposed EFS with brick. However, we didn't see any changes in the elevation, so we're asking if they could address that. And if there is significant EFS, we'd still like the Planning Commission to consider that issue. Transparency, they did meet the transparency on the north, south, and east side. However, they are proposing alternatives, which is a permitted right for the Planning Commission to approve. This is a rendering of this proposed second floor that Planning Commission spent time discussing. The second floor space is approximately 2,200 square feet. Additional renderings of that second floor space. And then lastly, there are 3 different standards the Planning Commission should consider. Section 5.04 details the design standards. This is for the neighborhood node. 8.06 outlines the site plan review standards. And lastly, 9.03 talks about the special use standards that we are well aware of. So with that, we are asking the Planning Commission to consider, 1, if the application meets the design standards, I'm sorry, the special use standards, whether it complies with the design standards and site plan review standards, evaluation of evidence of excess parking / vacuums, and lastly, the use of EFS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlisle. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Carlisle before we invite the applicant up? All right, why don't we go ahead and have the applicant come up.
Hi, everybody. Gabe Schuckman. I'll put my address in as well. 30200 Telegraph Road.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Eric and Alejandro, why don't you guys sign in as well? Okay. Alejandro of Stonefield Engineering and Eric Myers with Krieger Clapp. Why don't you guys sign in?
I'm going to have to operate as your remote control again this meeting, if that's okay, Gabe.
We're honored to have you. Thank you for doing that work, so thank you. Thank you again for having us this evening. I'm going to jump into the EFS question first, if that's okay. So the last time we were in front of the Planning Commission, we were at 12% EFS. There was one area that we had discussed about replacing, so we're now currently at 8% EFS on the total building. So that's what it is. So Eric, do you want to run us through that for a second?
Yes. And you can essentially see it in this rendering right here. On the south side of the building, between the first story windows down below and the second story, clear story windows up above, the 5 squarish spaces before or EFS were EFS all throughout here. It has now been replaced by the same white brick throughout. So this is where the 4% decrease in the amount of EFS has occurred.
What would you say the EFS, so we're at 8% EFS. So what, I don't know if that, from a definition, is that an accent? And I'm asking that question. But where do we currently have EFS on the building at this point in time?
Currently on the building, the primary areas are at the towers at the top part, where you'd have it on the second story,
Okay.
here and here.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 areas, one right here that's a little hard to see on this rendering, and on the other side of the building, right above the colored banding that goes above.
Is everything else a masonry structure outside of that?
Correct. Or a metal panel
Okay.
type system.
So I guess, Mr. Lambert, I think last time we had spoken about EFS. Does that get everybody a little bit more comfortable about the EFS question at 8%? That'd be my first question that I would have.
I mean, does anyone want to, go ahead, Mr. Lambert.
More for staff, I mean,
Yeah,
or for
sorry.
Mr. Carlisle, is it 8%?
I think that clearly you could argue that 8% is definitely an accent, material. So I'm fine with the change. I just didn't notice it on the elevation.
Yeah.
It just wasn't clear. So.
I don't know if the elevations got updated to clearly show that, so I get it.
Yeah, I think you could argue 8% is definitely an accent material, but again, these are elevations that are approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Buechner.
We were missing Mr. Tagle the last meeting, and I have a feeling he has something he wants to say, and he might say it sooner or later.
Thank you. Just tell me a little bit about why the EFS as opposed to a more, a different material, you say that?
Yes, so the EFS, this branding, this franchise has started off in the Miami area, where EFS is a little bit more predominant in the general building surroundings. We've tried to take that and apply that in the Michigan setting. However, in many of the localities we've been looking at, there has been a desire for increased amounts of masonry, brick, CMU of some sort. So we've been trying to tastefully achieve a balance of those two. One that complies with the original branding efforts, and one that also better matches with the different cities' zoning ordinance requirements.
What would the alternative be? If we didn't do EFS on the towers, what would we do instead?
Most likely, if we did something besides EFS, it'd be an increase in the brick going all the way up.
So it'd just be the white brick anyhow? that's
Exactly.
already-
And part of the reason it's a little difficult to see it, the EFS change over here is the colors of the EFS and the brick are very similar. So the overall look is not going to change that much by making that into a brick.
Is the branding more relating to the color or the material?
I think so. I think we've traditionally used the EFS as the towers, but I mean, if it's something that's important to see it all brick, that's not a hill I'm going to die on. So I don't think we're already at 8% EFS. It's not a primary. It really isn't. It's really a accessory and accent at this point. So if Planning Commission's preference would be to see all masonry for the towers as well, we'd be happy to to do that. So it's not. I don't think it's, I can't even tell the difference, Camley, so I don't know if you'd be able to tell the difference, when you're out there. So we'd be happy to go all masonry, if that's what got everybody comfortable. It'd be no issue for us. You gotta design it though, by the way.
Of course, of course.
I understand, and I believe you, the
Yeah.
8%, it seems like it would be more than 8 with the towers, but those are predominant elements. Those elements are, they're going to jump at you because of their size and their position high. I guess, personally, again, I'm only one member of this commission. I'd like to see something more durable, whether it's masonry, whether it's a white metal panel, or something. And again, that's why I ask, is it the color that relates to the branding more so than the material? Because it sounds like it could be a white brick, could be a white ephes, could it be a white panel, things like that.
I mean, from a branding perspective, I don't think it would make a difference, would it?
No.
Yeah, we can go to all Mays. I don't think it's an issue.
And quite honestly, I mean, I don't know if you want to, create some differentiation or some little color difference or tonal difference, on the brick, there's those options as well. If you don't want this all to look like a white brick building.
That's probably part of it. We have the Madison Heights pictures in here, don't we, Stephen? What slide is that? Keep going, okay. Dang, I thought I had to start clicking, I was getting nervous.
You want me to go there?
Yeah, we're just finishing up this project right now in Madison Heights. So, is that all ethos on the front over there on the Madison Heights project? Yeah, so I don't think that's a good example. We can see how the ethos pops out. Again, I don't think it's the end of the world, but at the very least, you get to see a picture of an existing wash that we're just finishing up in Madison Heights right now.
And I can see some different, I mean, there's a dark brick, there's either two colors, of like a gray and a white,
right,
plus your banding colors.
Yeah. And it's actually cool to see how the sign, I think the sign's pretty neat. I was out there this weekend, and like how we do like the Madison Heights, if there's like those light bulb look and all that stuff, it's a pretty cool artistic thing that we're doing there as well. So it's pretty neat. But that one's opening up November 29th, is my understanding. So if you guys have a chance to check it out, love to host you or have a chance to drive by it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Mr. Fox?
Well, I guess point of clarification, are we still asking questions on the EFS specific issue, or may I ask about other parts of the
You
development?
can ask anything you want.
Do you guys mind elaborating on the outdoor kitchenette that Mr. Carlisle referred to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we were thinking about the special land use, criteria and requirements to really be approved here. And one of the conversations is what else can we do? There was a lady here that was at the last meeting, Jennifer, that she was talking about the neighborhood that exists behind there and how can we serve the community needs even more. We think we're serving the community needs with office space for a nonprofit, Rainbow Connection, who was here last time, and they sent a letter of support today as well, is committed to that second floor space, and we're excited to have them there. We believe that the car wash serves a community use as well, and we have some statistics and information we're happy to share today as well. But then we're trying to figure out what else can we do, how can we add a retail component? That was one of the questions. So first we tried to jam in a food truck in here, and there wasn't the room to do it. So we're thinking a little bit more and talking a little bit more of how do we make this site compatible with the local neighborhoods that are around us. There's a lot of young families, a lot of different families that are walking around this intersection. And we wanted to give them a stopping spot, to stop and, enjoy the beautiful city of Troy. So we figured to add some different amenities to the corner, and that's what we did. So we're going to activate that corner itself. We're already doing that in Madison Heights. We added a retail component to our project in Madison Heights, 400 square foot little retail bay that we're going to be activating. And that was our opportunity to do that here, to bring different local businesses that can utilize that space to share their services and products and really work with the community to market our businesses and also market the corner and give people a stopping spot as they're walking through the neighborhoods to enjoy, have somewhere to go, whatever it may be. So this was our way of trying to activate the corner. We thought it fit well within the neighborhood node zoning, and we just tried to bring a different use to the table.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah. Mr. Cox.
So go into a little more detail about that corner, as far as you said you're going to bring in some kind of retail. What is it going to be, or?
So we've partnered up in every project that we do. We try to partner up with different local businesses is what we've typically done. So we opened up in Brighton and we partnered up with Meijer. Right now with Madison Heights, we're partnering up with the local grocery stores. Johnny and Matthew Shania, who own the Spartan grocery store just to the west. They're going to be partnering up with us and taking advantage of the 400 square feet that's within the car wash, their 400 square foot retail bay. So as we get closer here, we're going to find a different retail business. I think we can do multiple retail businesses and cycle them in throughout the summer, where we can really activate the corner and have somebody take advantage of it. It could be something with the Kroger that's across the street. It could be various different things, but our goal is to truly activate it and bring visibility to the Rainbow Connection, bring visibility to our business, and bring visibility to their businesses as well. One other thing that we added, if you look behind, we added another monument sign. So we have the El Car Wash logo on that, but we also have a space for the Rainbow Connection as well. So they get visibility for what they're doing. So that monument sign's a new addition that we've made to the project as well.
Thanks, but one other follow-up on,
please, yeah.
who would be using that outside kitchen?
So we can, work with local bakeries, local kitchens, local restaurateurs. We would come, our marketing, we've got a pretty good marketing team that would work on activating that for us.
Be interesting to see, because that was, when you first said that, it was like, it was the outdoor kitchens, I'm familiar with like a barbecue pit or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, who uses that?
Sure. It could be so many different things. I mean, like, we in our washes in Florida, we work with like Crumble Cookie. Like, we can just bring different retailers that have a way to, market their business, through that location.
Okay, so it's not just a barbecue outdoor kitchen type thing?
Yeah, they can use it for any use. People can be cooking there, whatever it may be. So it's going to be open-ended to, to utilize it. So it's really going to come up to our marketing department to bring different businesses to use it on a daily basis.
So it would be used by a business as opposed to the neighbors coming over and using your barbecue?
That would be my assumption. I don't know if we'd have I don't know if we want random people just coming and starting.
I totally get it. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
I was thinking that's not a bad idea either, but I'm not thinking about the liability
I don't think
issues.
it's a good idea, but I just want to make sure. Go ahead.
Ms. Malala Holly?
So is this outdoor kitchen space a rented space then? You're going to rent it out?
It would be
Or-
free of charge. So the goal would just be for different businesses just to have it activated.
And how is it going to be managed then?
We would just have our store managers, manage it. We have marketing managers, throughout the state. We have a head of marketing. We have a head of marketing for the state of Michigan, and they'd be working with local community businesses to keep it activated and keep it utilized.
Because I'm looking at if it is going to be an outdoor gathering space as you are looking to making it into, there will be trash, there will be people gathering, odd hours, late nights, whatever.
Yeah, we try
We
to manage it. I don't think we want people here till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or anything of that nature. But we have store managers that are running the facility, and they'd be responsible for managing that as well to make sure that it's being properly maintained and not becoming a nuisance to the community.
I watched the video since I was absent during the last meeting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but
Please.
did I hear a statistic, something like you anticipate 50 cars coming through your car wash in an hour? Is that your market analysis statistic that
I think was that from the traffic study? Yeah, that's from what is it? You want to come in? You want to come introduce yourself? We have our traffic consultant here as well.
If you could sign in as well, please.
So that data is based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation database. Sorry, I can't write. So that trip generation is based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers database for car wash. Additionally, per the city's traffic engineering consultant, we used a maximum rate. So the typical rate is, I believe it's 35 cars in an hour, in and out. But for conservative evaluation purposes, we used a maximum rate for Troy.
Now, when do you anticipate 50 cars coming through the car wash? It won't be all throughout the year.
No, so that is the PM peak hour.
On a regular basis, like weekly, daily basis, or are you talking about certain times of the year? Because that sounds a lot to me for that particular neighborhood node, and in general for car wash to have 50 cars coming through like regularly throughout the year.
I think they can speak to it better, but there's variations over the seasons. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think and I believe the traffic study was reviewed by the city of Troy. And maybe you can speak to that, what the city's review of it was. But I think when we try to do these traffic studies, what the city's onus they place upon us is run the worst case scenario and make sure the site can actually handle the traffic. So it's based upon that.
Yeah, typically when we perform a traffic study, and especially Troy, OHM is your traffic engineer, they prefer a worst case scenario in order to design the roadway infrastructure to accommodate such thing as if you need a light or a right turn lane or et cetera. We perform the traffic study in a more conservative evaluation than what their market research shows as their daily customers.
So you're stacking spaces and the space to turn into, you are ready for 50 cars coming through in an hour?
Yes.
Correct.
It can accommodate it.
And that traffic study was provided to the city of Troy, and I think staff can speak if that was reviewed and approved or recommended. I don't know if you have.
I agree with both statements. It's really intended to show like a worst case scenario or a busiest time of year type scenario, that it can handle the the traffic and that it's not going to negatively impact the roadways.
This free space that, that has been mentioned even in the previous meeting, what happens if currently the tenant that you have, what if they were to move? What happens then to that free space? Are you still going to look for another nonprofit?
Yeah.
How is that going to work out?
The question that was brought up to us last time is we want to make sure it doesn't become your space for your use. And what I'm okay, and we're happy to agree to and tie it to our C of O, that space will not be utilized for L car washes, business use, affiliates, whatever it may be. It will only be used for third-party office space. And our goal is to maintain it as nonprofit space. We've had a long-time connection with the long-term relationship with the Rainbow Connection. I've done a lot of work with them. We're excited about the fact that we're going to be able to, make this a reality for them. It's a big deal for me. It's a big deal for Ingrid. And I'm excited that, we can take advantage of the position we have to go do something really good for the community. That's who we are, and that's in our DNA, and that's candidly in my DNA.
When the redesign came through, yes, you have moved the parking spots closer to the building, but there is no separate entrance, if I'm correct. And I also had a question about the signage of the Rainbow Connection, and I see that you are going to mention that on the monument sign you just mentioned.
Right.
But what about the entrance?
There is a separate entrance. Can we pull up the elevation of I think the northern elevation? So it's right there, and we also added that metal awning over the entrance as well. So we wanted to make it a more prominent entrance. So we added we did make that modification based upon the last meeting.
Which is the awning that I see right in front of the two white cars parked? Is that the area?
So right here, we have the awning, as well as over here. You essentially have two entrances into the space. One is into the main stairwell lobby. One is into a vestibule space, also has access to the restroom that would be used. They have also been both changed. Before they were a solid hollow metal door. Now they are storefront with additional glazing on the side, so you can have a better, more clear view into the space.
Are those the solar panels that you have above the vacuums?
Right along here, yes.
Because I see solar panels, and that's where you propose to have the solar panels.
That's it for me. Does anybody else? Yep, Mr. Biekner.
I just have a couple thoughts. At the outside kitchen, if this goes further, I'd like to see sketches of what that would look like. I'm definitely a fan. I think everybody's a fan of the nonprofit thing that you guys are doing. I love the signage that you guys have shown. I think that's cool. I think everyone will like that. I drove by your Madison Heights location and I liked what I saw. I think one of the bigger issues going on here that our group has to figure out is the neighborhood node thing. So that's something that we have to figure out, and if this goes in your favor, city council will be more interesting, just letting you know. And I would ask about the vacuums. Our group thinks there might be a little more vacuums than what is needed. Just let you speak to that, please.
Yeah, I think that was just candidly a mistake. I think we're okay with the 25. So in mistakes, we make mistakes. So I think the spaces that are directly in front of the building itself, those are the ones I'd propose to remove. And just go back to that original 25. So I think that was just something that got missed between the last two revisions.
Yes, Mr. Lambert?
Some clarification on Mr. Biekner's comment. This does not go to city council, does it? We're the final authority here, so, okay,
Thanks, Dave.
thank you. Thanks for raising that.
Yep.
I'm sure we knew it.
I was going to mention that
Thank
this
you.
is, that we're the decision
Okay.
maker on this one. Yep, Mr. Fox.
Is there wheelchair access to the second story office? I forgot to look for it when I was.
We are including an elevator into the space.
Fantastic. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You said you are including an elevator?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yep, Mr. Tagle.
As far as the kitchen, again, is it going to be more than a prepackaged sale of product like sandwiches or potato chips or
It's
things
gonna be-
like
it's
that?
gonna be-
Is somebody going to cook things in there?
Yeah, it's going to be fully plumbed and the whole 9 yards and everything else. It's fully usable.
So it's like a walk-up window, and I look at the menu board and I want to buy a burger or something?
Yeah, I'm
or-
trying to, I don't know if I should have brought a picture of it.
Just trying to understand
Yeah.
the proposed operation.
Just, anybody golfers here at all, or? So just imagine when you go to like the ninth hole and they have like an outdoor kitchen, that's exactly what it's going to be. And for the non-golfers, I'm probably not, but it's like just like a, I want to say tiki bar, that's probably the wrong terminology, but I'm sure that's definitely the wrong terminology. It would like literally be just like an outdoor, like a full, an outdoor kitchen, literally, just, with all the amenities and everything else.
Well, it was raised up, and I
Yeah.
guess, can you speak to actually the practicality of, I've just bought something to eat, or I have my child with me, is there a table to sit at? Is there a trash collection device somewhere? I mean, it's like, I don't know how intense this use may or may not be.
I think the intensity, I mean, listen, we believe it's great for the neighborhood. We believe it's great for our business, right? I mean, I think, the opportunities are endless here. We can bring, chefs from the city of Troy and say, hey, do you want to advertise or market your business by opening up here for the day? So it's just
I'm not opposed to the concept.
Oh, the
I want to talk about
usability.
the practical aspects of the
You want to speak
concept.
about what we've done?
Yeah, so if you look at the revised site plan, we do have an ample sitting area right in front of the kitchen. I don't know which slide it is, but yeah, so right here, that's where the kitchen would be, and all this area would be, set up for seating, and anyone who purchases or goes up to the kitchen could seat either right here. There's also benches alongside here. We've also proposed benches along here and here.
And have you tested this concept in our climate?
Yeah, I was about to ask him.
So I did a project in Woodhaven, Michigan, and that project itself was a 9-acre brownfield site. It was so if you've been to Woodhaven in the past, there used to be, you're driving west on West Road, or east on West Road. I got confused with all the west. You're driving east on West Road in front of the Meyer. There was like a garbage hill. It's about 30,000 yards of garbage, and literally. And we worked with the city of Woodhaven to clean up that property. And part of the redevelopment, we did a Chick-fil-A, we did a multi-tenant retail center, and we completed a Dairy Queen, then we built a park. And in the park itself that we completed, there was outdoor seating and everything else. The city, we actually ground leased it to the city for 99 years at $1 a year. And the city activated, they're doing a small movie theater area over there and everything else. I personally love it. I don't think it's something that's, done in Michigan in a lot. I think we're, sometimes, stuck as developers and various things, but I think it comes down to the creativity of people to market it and activate, and I think you get rewarded for doing these types of things.
So I hope you're successful. That's the whole idea behind, we all want good things to come from this, both for
Absolutely.
the community and for yourselves.
Yeah, I appreciate
and
it.
You're curious if you've been able to test or try this out as far as an outdoor space when we have a pretty set number of months that people might enjoy the weather and something to eat.
Yeah, this is good for 5 months of the year, right? But I believe in outdoor activation. Outdoor activation is working across the country, works in a lot of various climates. I just think we need to be the first ones to go do it, and it doesn't exist, right? We will be the first ones to do it, but I think the beauty of it is typically you'd have a developer that owns this building, owns this property, leases out to somebody else, and that's the end of the story. In this situation, it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
The person running the business is also the owner of the building, and is also going to be the one that's going to be activating. So they're going to have a vested interest to make sure this actually gets worked and utilized. They're going to want to bring in new customers and new members. I mean, the car wash business, it's about transactions, about car washes and everything else, but it's about membership. It's a membership-driven business. And members like community. Members like people that give back to their community. I don't think people like transactional relationships. I don't believe in that. I don't think anybody believes in that. People want to know, who are they doing business with? And if you're going to be a member of this car wash, you're going to feel like that it's part of your community and they're giving back to your community. And this is a small token of giving back to your community. You're going to want to have vested interest. You're not going to want to have some outdoor kitchen that's never been utilized, that's rusty and looks like crap, because you're not going to want to be a member there. So given the fact that we're the operators, we're the owners, it is going to work. We don't have a choice. We got to make sure the community doesn't think we're full of BS.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Krank.
Yes, still on the kitchen. Is it going to be enclosed,
So the kitchen area.
weatherproofed, or?
So the kitchen area, the kitchen is enclosed, but you can walk up into it. So the equipment would be enclosed. We'd be able to like lock it down and all that, at night.
Okay.
But that's how it would work.
So are you familiar with Home Depot's hot dog stands that are all enclosed?
Who told you about my hot dog?
So I'm just saying, they use that year-round. That's
Right.
open year-round. So if your unit is enclosed, people can still walk up to it year-round if someone was there to serve food.
If we can use this year-round and it's something that's wanted year-round, we're going to utilize it year-round.
Okay.
The more successful it is, the more successful our car wash is going to be, is the reality, so.
Yes, Mr.
I just
Savedon.
want to remind, make sure everyone's on the same page, remind the Planning Commission that the Planning Commission does not approve signage. You don't have the authority. I don't even get involved in the sign game. Too many brain cells. So they've indicated they propose these locations, et cetera, but they're going to have to go through the sign review process as per Chapter 85 of the City Code of Ordinances. So I don't want the applicant to leave here thinking, hey, we got approved for these signs. No, they did not.
Oh, then a follow-up question, Mr. Savedant, if I may.
Yes,
Sorry.
of course.
What if the signage does not get approved? Now, what we here on the commission are looking at and saying, oh, this looks nice, welcome to Troy, all of those things are great signage, but what if those signages don't get approved? Then,
We will put our best foot forward to work together with the applicant to get compliance. So the intent is that we work together for this to happen, but I just don't want anyone watching or anyone attending thinking they got approved for these signs. We haven't measured these signs in terms of their square footage. We haven't measured them in terms of their relationship with the right-of-way. This is conceptual in nature, and we will work with the applicant, if this is approved, to move forward with the signage.
okay, so the size and the scale of the signage may be different, but there will be some kind of signage there.
The applicant has indicated an intent to place signage on the building as well as freestanding, a combination. They propose it's going to look like this. So they want to conceptually show you that this is how they want to look, how they want the site to look and the building to look with signage included. We will work with them, do our best to achieve compliance. There's nothing that jumps out at me right now as a red flag, but
Sure.
they're going to have to go through the standalone sign review process to get approval for these signs.
Got it, thank you.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, if you saw the Madison Heights the actual Madison Heights building, it's all about community for us. So like, we did Welcome to Madison Heights. We want to do Welcome to Troy. So we're hopeful that it gets approved. I mean, this is something that we want to do, and it's something we're doing on all of our projects, and we love the art as well. So you can tie us to it. We want to be tied to it. We want to do this. So I don't know what that means and all this approval stuff, but just our view.
I take it in good faith that this is what they want to do. I just want to,
Yeah.
we usually don't spend a lot of time talking about signs and referencing signs, and we spent some time talking about it. I just wanted everyone involved in this meeting to be clear that they're not getting approval for the signs this evening.
Sounds good. Okay, Mr. Tagle?
Has anyone on your team actually looked at the sign ordinance to see if these are compliant or close to compliant or not?
Go ahead.
So the monument sign is in a compliant location. Like in the site plan, we show it there and we show the setback requirements, and it is in a compliant location.
Size?
Size would be more architectural.
Signage is typically handled by a sign consultant, so once they go back in, they will be getting all the appropriate permits to make sure that we're meeting the size requirements as required by the Planning Commission, as required by any zoning ordinance.
I understand. I just was curious if anyone on your team has looked at that prior to presenting this concept to us, and if they haven't, then they will at some point.
They will at some point. It has not happened at this time.
Okay.
And when you talk about the monument sign, is that the Troy sign?
The ground sign.
The ground sign?
The metal ground sign behind, just to my left of the runner.
By the kitchen?
Yeah, exactly.
By the kitchen, so not the Troy sign. Okay.
And it does have a maximum height of 10 feet, which in perspective, that's nowhere close to 10 feet.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Ms. Malala Holly.
Couple months ago, there was a car wash proposal in front of us for Long Lake and Livernois node, and that was, of course, approved by the Planning Commission. Are you aware that there are new other ones coming up, like near Oakland Mall, and you still think that this is a good fit for this neighborhood node?
Yeah, and we completed an economic feasibility study as well, which I think was provided in May. So we feel very, very confident on that. And I'm aware of every car wash that's looking at Metro Detroit. I promise you, I track it day in, day out. But we think there's a underserved market here at Long Lake and DeQuinder.
And you have a proposal for building 15 in the Metro Detroit area?
Hopefully more. Our proposal is to build 25. So we'll have 10 open by the end of next year, the end of 2025, and we'll have additional ones open, thereafter.
We don't have enough car washes. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Faison.
I had a question for Mr. Carlisle. I think you said earlier that there were 30 vacuum stations and you thought that was relatively high. I was trying to think about that in the context of if there's potentially 50 cars going through in an hour. I mean, how did you come to that conclusion that it was high? And then I have a follow-up question for the applicant.
So the 50 is the number they got from ITE. We have not verified that or double-checked that that's the appropriate number. That's basically, obviously a car an hour. Just anecdotally, 30 vacuum spaces seems like a significant amount of vacuum spaces. I've been by plenty of car washes, and I have never seen 30 vacuums used at one time. And we always try to, similar to parking, we always try to right size these so we're not over installing an impervious surface where we don't need to. And so, if the applicant feels that 25, they know they'll go back to 25. If 25 is sufficient, then they should prove that. But just by putting it on there and saying we need it, I don't know if that's conclusionary in our estimation that 25 is what they actually need for this particular site. So we're just looking for more evidence and documentation that 25 is actually what they need for this site.
Understood. And then my follow-up for the applicant was, so is it 25 that you need? Is it 30 that you need? How many do you think?
We're fine with 25. I think it's just based upon, we have 50 car washes open in the state of Florida, and 25 is the number that works for us. We feel like if we go less than that number, there's a chance that there's not enough to be served. But the mathematics you used were right? You have 50 cars, how many people actually use the vacuums? So if 1 out of 2 uses the vacuums, that's a safe number. So we're just going based upon experience in our other locations in Florida. Do I think people vacuum differently in Florida than Michigan? I bet in January people don't want to vacuum their car. But I think in July it could become an issue. And if it's ever not enough vacuums, we'd come back in front of planning and have the conversation, say, hey, we need more. But as of today, I think we're fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, one thing that was brought up was the excess of impervious area. All the vacuum spaces are currently paved with permeable pavers if you look at the site plan. So in theory, it would not increase the stormwater runoff based on the amount of parking spaces.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. When you were here the first time getting feedback, I had talked about my concern that it didn't meet the design standards for not having a primary entrance on Long Lake, and you still don't have an entrance on Long Lake. I know you put that kitchen there, but I was thinking that maybe you'd consider putting the entrance to the nonprofit going up onto Long Lake.
I think the challenge is if we made the entrance over there, then they would have to go around the building from the parking spaces. So we couldn't lay out I don't know if it'd be a easier use for the nonprofit by doing that. So if we move the entrance to the south side of the building for the nonprofit, they would still have to walk around to get to that point. Feasibility, anything can be done, but I just don't know if it would be feasible for them as we were working through that and talking. We had a bunch of conference calls after this meeting trying to figure out how to incorporate a lot of the comments, and I just didn't see a way that we could incorporate it.
Okay. And then I also had brought up circulation issues on the site. Have you ever considered doing diagonal like one way, having the circulation, do we have like a bird's eye view? Yeah, that works, I guess. Having those vacuum spots being one way to sort of, I don't know, I had issues with the circulation because I felt like everything was two-way and you come out and you can go right or you can go straight and then cars can back out and leave either way. I just felt that there could have been simplified if there had been one-way parking sort of looping around those vacuums. Had you looked at that at all?
I know we spent some time on it. We were trying to really focus in on the ingress off of Long Lake to make that turn a little bit easier. So we spent a lot of time, working on that. I'm hopeful that by eliminating those vacs that you see currently alongside the north side of the building, at least it keeps keeps the vacuum traffic just centered in one specific area. So that's one hope. That's one hope that we have. We spent a lot of time after the previous meeting trying to figure out different ways to improve and incorporate a lot of the suggestions. I wasn't able to incorporate all of it, but
Some of it was signage, for example. I mean, I've
Yeah.
noticed it the second go-around, but if you're entering off Long Lake, it seems to me that there's sort of an emergency exit for a car that changes its mind and doesn't want to enter the tunnel, that they can exit. I'm
Correct.
assuming they cannot enter there.
Yeah, correct. And we can sign that as appropriately as possible to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm sure there's some traffic stuff. We can do that, but we'll do signage and raise curbs or whatever we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen. That's the last thing we want as well.
Okay, yeah, Mr.
I think
Tagle.
you bring up a good point, because the exit coming out of the car wash, I'm looking at an aerial, looking at the north side of the building. That exit is actually a two-way drive, is it not? And could it become a one-way drive?
So the one you're looking at right now, so if somebody makes it through the 3 pay stations?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The east end.
Oh,
The east end coming out of the car wash.
yeah, if we go to the site plan?
Good,
Debbie?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that one way as it goes past the vacuum stations?
Are you referring to this area?
Yep.
Yeah, so that is a one-way out, and we do have, stop signs here along with the stop bar striping, however you want to call it. And it's not a two-way lane. This is just straight out.
So it's a 12-foot wide exit drive or something in that vicinity?
Yeah, I can't really, there's a dimension right here.
Okay, as long as it's one way, because there's
Yes.
definitely a conflict if it's
No,
a two-way.
100%.
It's an egress only.
And also, people are gonna wanna vacuum their cars, so that's not really gonna.
And there's a person standing right there coming out of the tunnel just to make sure that nobody's.
Oh, I didn't see him. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's 14 feet wide.
Yeah. No, it's a little bit wider than a one-way. As long as it's one way, I'm okay with that.
And then I know a traffic concern was like the ingress here. So what we did, if you remember previously, was like a very skinny island right here. So we basically angled it a little bit and now we cut it back so there's proper and ample area for people to access.
For turning radii.
Yeah.
That may be an interesting corner if you're starting to stack up outside of the 3 lanes. If you're starting to stack up along the north property line, north drive, and someone's coming in to get through there, that could be a little bit of a challenge.
I think we're showing what's the total stacking that we're showing right now?
21 stacking spaces, so.
It would be.
Well, the issue is, as long as your equipment is working and not breaking down, that, oh, heck, why aren't we moving?
That's my other nightmares, but no,
Yeah, I understand.
it's a top of the line equipment and all that, but it truly is a top of the line equipment. We're investing. I mean, we're paying $3 million for the land. I mean, this will be the most expensive building we've built in the Metro Detroit market, candidly. And we're excited about it. And so we'll be into this project for $11-12 million. I thought it was 7. I thought it was going to be 10, but I'm dead wrong. Yeah, they always say I'm too optimistic. But it's $11-12 million project. We're excited about it. So, we're not going to We're going to use the
Well,
Cadillac of equipment. I hope I'm not offending any Ford people, but no, we're going to use the, the best of
Well, I'm
equipment.
sure if you buy an expensive car, it breaks down, doesn't it? I mean,
I'm not an expensive car kind of guy. I like used cars. That's
I
me.
promise you they do.
Okay. As long as you weren't asking for my point of view, then
Yes, Ms. Malala Holly.
This is a total side question, but what is the membership that you charge for your customers?
Right, yeah. So it varies. So there's like 3 different membership classes. So it starts at $25 and goes up to $45 a month for unlimited car washes. Now, if you start asking about the mechanics of the difference between the $45 membership
No.
and the third, I'm not.
No, we are fine with
There's like
this.
ceramic. I don't. It gets out of my pay grade.
Does anyone else have any questions for our applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. It's not a public hearing. I think we did a public hearing. If anyone's here for public comment, we will allow public comment at this time for this. Okay, seeing nobody, let's turn it back for Planning Commission discussion. Yes, Mr. Fox.
Thank you. I really appreciate a lot of Planning Commission's questions, comments. I think really, really good discussion. One point that I want to make sure that we touch on as a board and have this conversation is, I think I said when this was here last, this build has a lot of really great things kind of put on top of it, like almost like frosting on a cake, right? Like it's got good art, it's got, mixed use, it's adding in all these things. But at the end of the day, my issue with it is the actual cake itself, whether or not a car wash is specifically good on this corner. And as it currently stands, I don't like, the art is nice, the mixed use is nice, but to me, there are other uses that we could attain those same things. And I just don't see a car wash being appropriate for this corner, as much as a lot of these additives and these layers on top are positive, and I'd love to see them pop up in other builds. I just do not think an auto-centric car wash is the way to go with that corner. And I want to make sure that because I'm just one of 9, I want to make sure we have that conversation about the use itself, not just the kind of additives and extras on top of it.
Thanks, Mr. Fox. I'm going to chime in here at this time because I similarly have concerns about the special use standards and whether this fits. We have to talk about whether it's compatible with adjacent uses. I see it as a gateway into Troy, and we have a gas station on the south side, and this would be a car wash. So the 2 nodes entering into Troy would both be automotive, and I don't know that that's consistent with our master plan. Our master plan talks about being a go-to place and taking on a social role, and now this kitchen is an attempt at that. But one of the things that the master plan talks about, specifically about the neighborhood nodes, is that we attract and welcome residents that are within a 15-minute walk of neighborhoods. And in general, you're not walking to a car wash just because you would want to bring your car with you. It also made me wonder if we had to think about parking requirements to the extent that this kitchen use becomes something where now all of a sudden it has a parking requirement attached to it. So we're bordering now something sort of a little bit unclear, and I wanted to ask that question as to whether we need to have a little bit more, have that purpose be a little bit more defined so we can determine whether now that there is a parking requirement attached to that use.
My question too.
Not fully understanding what the kitchen use was going into this meeting, and based on the discussions, I think I'd like a little more clarification for the applicant in some sort of narrative with a vision of what the intent is, the time of use, the intent, the duration of the use, et cetera, to confirm if we do think there is a need for additional parking. So I think it's something that we would definitely have to have a further discussion with the applicant based on a clarification tonight from them of what that proposed use of that space is going to be.
Okay, thank you. And then again, I think that when we look at the special use standards in section B, when it talks about 9.03B, we have to consider the following factors: the nature and character of the activities, processes, materials, equipment, et cetera, which is basically, we can focus on the cool stuff, the kitchen, the bike repair, all that, but at the end of the day, it is a car wash. Vehicular circulation and parking areas, I do have concerns a little bit about that circulation still. The hours of operation, the production of traffic, noise, vibration, smoke, fumes, odors, all of those things that come along with a car wash as opposed to a restaurant that's already there. The traffic, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on the traffic that it creates, because to me, I could be totally wrong, but I think it's similar to a 7-Eleven where you're having cars in and out, in and out. Now, is it going to increase from what's currently there, which is a restaurant where people are coming and sitting and having a meal for an hour? For sure. This is going to create much more traffic. But I don't want to necessarily say that violates the provisions, because it could be a 7-Eleven or something that has that high turnover. But this is a special use, and it will impact traffic negatively. So, and then from a design standard standpoint, we do require that there be an entrance on Long Lake to a building. And again, when you have a car wash there, there's really no entrance. That's why I sort of said, well, if you can put the entrance to the mixed use, at least we have an entrance. But we don't have an entrance. I get your point that people are going to be parking in the back and entering, but if you look anywhere where we have this rule, all along Big Beaver, everyone has an entrance on Big Beaver, and I bet you nobody uses those entrances. I mean, we know most people park and they enter the back. That's why all of those businesses have a front and a back, but they use both doors. It's in our ordinance, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time with that. Mr. Hudson?
I like your comments. They mirror some of my thoughts, but let me take it from a little different viewpoint. What we've got basically, as you indicate, it's a car wash. It's a big white block of a car wash. This is a major intersection, 2 thoroughways. Adding anywhere from 35 to 50 cars an hour into this location is going to complicate traffic, not bar it, but complicate it. The use of a building attached to a car wash, nonprofit, and a kitchen, be it a burger place, someplace you want to go with your family for a meal. These are all little attachments which are attempted to provide a legal basis for us to grant a special use. Thinking also of the time that we have spent with a master plan and looking at nodes of the city. No one ever anticipated that we would be putting a car wash in a neighborhood node. We're trying to encourage walkability. I don't know anybody who's going to walk to a car wash to get fresh air. I think that this might be a fine project somewhere else, but no one, when they designed the nodes, contemplated or even provided for a car wash. So I think that the petition is clever. I mean, he was using everything he could to make it conform to the approval of a special use. They haven't met the burden, in my opinion. I think it's the wrong place for this car wash.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Malala Holly?
I echo both of your thoughts. I was thinking the same in terms of the outdoor kitchen. If this is going to be, as they are proposing, a gathering space, then where are the residents going to park to enjoy the food that is going to be served by a restaurant or any individual baker, or however it is going to be done? So there are no parking spots for that. How much more congestion are we adding to that space with it being a car wash? I'm not against car wash, but I'm against car wash in certain areas. All of you know that I was not for a car wash on Long Lake and Livernois intersection, and I'm not for a car wash in this area as well. Again, walkability is our big thing. When we did our neighborhood walks, that is the one thing that residents came and told us that they would like to see some walkability, and we want walkability for our neighbors who can come to these areas. And I know that there are gas stations on both sides. I'm not going to deny that that is definitely there. But at the same time, is car wash really encouraging people to come out and gather? How much of this kitchen space is going to be used and how many people are going to really come and make use of it? I have my doubts on that, especially it being a car wash. I would like to see some other kind of development happen here, which encourages people to come out, have open door space and things like that. I am still struggling with the 9.03B section with the nature and character of the activities, the vehicular circulation, the hours of operation for the kitchen, the noise, the smoke, with residences so close by. My vote is not going to be a yes on this one. These neighborhood nodes are not designed for car washes. Car washes are more commercial in use and have to be in a much more commercial-like location. So Long Lake and Livernois was a no for me, and this one will also be a no for me.
Mr. Fox?
Well, and I guess piggybacking off of the comments of previous planning commissioners, technically speaking, the neighborhood nodes were written with gas stations as an acceptable special use. So technically speaking, the neighborhood nodes did have car washes in mind. However, I think what really sums up kind of my issues with this specific property, and I will bring up the Madison Heights El Car Wash actually as an example. I think that's in a brilliant location. That is not on a major corner at a major intersection. And I think that's where the kind of the differences between the Madison Heights location, which I think is decently, it makes sense where it's situated kind of in the middle between two major intersections, whereas this is right smack on the corner, right in the entryway. And I think that's the difference specifically. Like, is there a world where I would ever approve maybe a car wash in a neighborhood node? Depending on the situation, maybe. But with this specific instance, with it being right on the corner in a major intersection, I wouldn't be in favor of it, so.
And just to be clear, I believe we talked about this, all car washes in the city of Troy are special use. There's no location in the city of Troy where they're permitted, so.
Am I right? Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep, yes, Mr. Buechner.
I'm blessed to have lived on Big Beaver, next to Big Beaver my whole life. I know Big Beaver very well. I'm sorry, I disagree that there's a traffic issue here. Big Beaver is one of the biggest roads in our city, and John R. is a big road. I don't think traffic is an issue, in my opinion. I think we've had other car washes that have come, and they're a quarter mile down the road from the light, so people are driving too fast. And so I think it's catch-22 for our potential business person. So I think it's tricky you're down the road a little bit and then you're driving 45 miles an hour to make that turn is really hard. So I think they're in a tough spot. I love the charitable thing that you guys are doing. I've been a businessman for a long time and I've never seen anybody do this. So I'm impressed. I do like the signage. But on the other hand, I am struggling with what my group is saying because it's hard to argue with the neighborhood node and we're trying to make it as great as we can be. That's part of our job. I'm voting yes because I like what you're doing. I like your presentation, but I can't disagree with my cohorts.
And Mr. Buechner, just to be clear, you know that it's on Long Lake and DeQuinder, right? Not Big Beaver.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the next one.
Yeah,
It's Big
yeah,
Beaver.
okay. I mean, just
Okay, thank you.
State it for the record that we're all
Not
aware.
quite as wide of a road, but yeah, thank you for correcting me.
Yep, for sure. Yep, Mr. Crott.
I'm fine with this project as long as you use all brick. That's short and sweet, that's all I gotta say.
Mr. Tagle?
You know, I've heard the opposition comments, and I look at the aerial map that was part of one of their drawings. There's a Kroger. I think it's a Kroger. Nobody's going to walk to that. Kroger's is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's a shopping center there. 2 other corners, there's gas stations, auto-centric, as you say. I mean, what are we thinking here? This is an opportunity to enhance that corner. I don't think traffic is going to be an issue. I think what they're doing is commendable as far as reaching out to a nonprofit. I don't know that I buy into the walkability of this kitchen and bike repair, but it's worth a try. I mean, next to it, west of the site, there's another Arby's restaurant. I mean, we're not, we're not just putting lipstick on a pig here. I mean, what are we going to do with all these properties that these nodes are so sacred? They're not. This is the reality of this thing. These developments are going to be around for a long time. And if we can enhance the visual aspect of that corner with a project like this, plus the serving of the community, I don't have a real big problem with this project. I think they've done a fairly nice job with the aesthetics of it. They're willing to change the materials to improve that, in my opinion. So I am okay with this project, the way it's been presented with the amendments that they've presented tonight.
Thank you. I just want to comment on it. What I said at the first meeting that I think you weren't here at, when I went for a site visit, it was at noon on a weekday, and it was a packed restaurant. It wasn't what I was expecting to see. I was expecting to go and see a for lease sign with an empty parking lot, but it's actually a corner with a restaurant that's being utilized. So they're coming in and they're changing the use, but a restaurant that's busy during lunch hour to me is sort of more of a neighborhood node feel. That was sort of what they're changing it to an automotive from a restaurant. So that's the way I was looking at it.
Well, it's if I can.
Yeah.
It's definitely an offering to the community. People like to get their cars washed, some more than others. I think the restaurant that's there may have attracted a certain number of people at lunch or at dinner, maybe at breakfast. Looks like it was a former Big Boy. But I think there's going to be a lot of activity here, not to the point of being detrimental to the traffic, but I think it's going to be an opportunity for the community to have something they don't have in their neighborhood right now. I think it will serve the neighborhood in a positive way.
Okay, sounds good. Mr.
Well, yeah, I just want to say I very much appreciate the comments. I think it is definitely important to take into account the amount of work that this applicant has made to make this a more visually appealing, more decorative, like a very well put together vision for that corner. I think where I get caught up is the fact that we could achieve that same level with an office, with another restaurant. We can still achieve that improvement without converting it into just, I guess, into something that's even more auto-focused than the rest of what's there. I do also, they just broke ground on the El Car Wash that they're building 2 miles south on Big Beaver. And to me, I understand the applicant's got a study that shows the economic viability. I understand that. To me, I am concerned with the idea that we just have car washes all up and down DeQuinder because we could put them there. And so for me, it's just not the spot for it. Another spot, fantastic, but this isn't the location.
Anyone else? Mr. Faison.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about it. I think it's, in my view, an improvement, and I'll commend the applicant, it's an improvement for what is there, right? And I think it's visually appealing, but I struggle with the neighborhood node definition, and that it's not, it doesn't seem to meet that to me. So it's definitely an improvement from what is there, but I don't think it fits the concept of where we're trying to go with the neighborhood nodes.
Okay. Anyone else? Does anyone want to propose a resolution or?
I'll make one last comment
For
if I
sure,
can.
of course.
We have an opportunity here to improve, in my opinion, a very poor corner, visual poor corner with this building. You say we could have an opportunity to put an office there or another restaurant. When? It's not our choice, it's the developer's choice. It's going to come and invest the money. And so we've got a developer here that's willing to spend money to improve that, to put a certain business there. I mean, we can't kid ourselves. I mean, everybody drives cars. We're going to have places in Troy, and we have places in Troy that are walkable. There are going to be some places that are never going to be walkable. So I think, we're talking about, I think forcing a little bit that, we want to make every opportunity about walkable. I agree with that to an extent, but I think we have to be practical too as to what we can do with what we have to work with and have some level of flexibility. I understand the requirement to put front door on the right of way, or on the right of way. That's been successful in some locations on Big Beaver, and it's a horrible mistake in other locations. I understand the concept. We want the buildings up front, the parking in the back. But I'll tell you what, that doesn't always work real well depending on what's in the building and how the building is serving the public.
Well, I absolutely agree with that comment, but it's part of the zoning ordinance, and that's, our job is to interpret the zoning ordinance and apply the standards, because we can't really pick and choose when we're going to apply that. That's my only comment to that. I mean, I've criticized the doors on Big Beaver that never get used many times, but that's what what's required. So, I mean, that's how I answer that. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Malala.
I have a clarification. Maybe this was asked of the applicant the last meeting. Do we know the hours of operation?
Yes, please.
Hours of operation are from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the standard hours of operation. Can I just comment to a few things? Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
So I really want to dive into this. One thing is, going back to the use of the car wash, at least 80% of people wash their cars. It is a neighborhood use. It's a use that people utilize. We can't ignore that fact. So, I take a little bit of, I just disagree with that comment that it's a bad cake. This is an incredible cake. This is what it is. You have an opportunity right now, right here, to approve a $12 million redevelopment of a 1.8 acre corner. And how many other communities outside of how many other parts of Troy, outside of Big Beaver, have you seen a $12 million redevelopment on a 1.8 acre corner? Which ones are they? It doesn't exist. You have the opportunity here to set an example for the future of Troy, because mixed use is the future. That's what the neighborhood node is intending to do. And because we don't like car wash, some people don't like car wash, don't turn down a great project. You're turning down a great project because it's a car wash on the first floor. You're turning down the opportunity to take second floor space and bring in a nonprofit. You're turning down to create a walkable area. Troy's a suburban community. It's not going to change. It's on a mile grid. That's how the city's set up. People are going to be walking. Because you don't like on a car wash on the first floor, let's not blind ourselves of what we are doing here. We are doing something, and we're setting an example as a reality of it. Because right now, you can go point to any other developer that wants to go do a project in the city of Troy and point to them and say, listen, look what these guys did. They did meet the definition of the neighborhood node, and look how they did it. And because we don't like the use on the first floor, don't turn down a great opportunity. Because that's what you're doing right now. It truly is. So I'm happy to run through some of the criteria, because, I mean, we're getting into the technicalities of it, so I'm happy to jump into that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Compatibility with adjacent use. So the proposed mixed use benefits, complements, and enhances the surrounding commercial uses and nearby residential, providing an amenity. And a car wash is an amenity that doesn't currently exist in this part of the city. And the second floor office with a nonprofit tenant will provide unique services to the demographic in the city in which its mission serves. So again, enhancement, upgrade to the community. We're making a $12 million investment into this corner. We're providing free space to a nonprofit and tying our C of O to it as well. We're creating retail and neighborhood amenities on the corner. Last time we met, the question was, let's activate the corner more. We activated the corner. I don't think it's, fair to say you activated the corner, I activated it too much. You said go serve the residents around us. We went and did that. We're building an outdoor kitchen. Outdoor kitchen. And I think to be attacked by building that outdoor kitchen is not a fair thing. We have 3 uses now. You have a car wash, an office, and a retail component. 3 uses on a 1.8 acre corner. How is that not defining mixed use? I want to understand that. How is that not defining what you're trying to accomplish with neighborhood node? I want to understand that. Master plan compatibility. The site is designated as a part of the neighborhood node. The master plan intends for this to be the go-to place to meet the basic needs of the community and to play a critical role in the daily function, image, and quality of life and continued viability of the city. The proposed uses and proposed mixed use satisfies the requirements for this particular neighborhood node. The master plan designates the node to be predominantly commercial, catering to both the local needs and regional traffic. We believe the car wash portion satisfies this criteria. And identifying opportunities for small office and mixed use. We believe the second floor with targeted nonprofit meets this need as well. Again, I think we are setting a standard that City of Troy deserves that you can point at time and time again. Please, just because you don't love the cake, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. I'll use that term as well, because that's what you're doing. You're truly doing that. Traffic impact, we put together a traffic study and we meet that criteria. So the traffic study, we meet that as well. Impact on public services, all necessary utilities are available to site. Our state-of-the-art technology and water reclamation system minimizes water use and impact on the storm's drainage system. At-home washes typically use between 80 and 140 gallons of water. We typically use 20 gallons. It's better for the environment doing it here than anywhere else. We're upgrading the stormwater system, and we're also adding the neighborhood amenities. From a zoning ordinance standard compliance, the proposed project and its uses comply with those considered compatible with this zoning district. And is not anticipated that the auto wash and office will create any additional burden to the city or its resources from a public safety and public works perspective. One thing that was brought up was environmental impact. There was some commentary made about the noise. Can we talk about the noise for a second from the traffic, Vex?
So I want to talk about the traffic first, going back to it and explaining it a little bit more. So the current use there is a sit-down restaurant. Sit-down restaurant is a destination type of development. A car wash, it's more like a on your way type of development. So the majority of the traffic is what is referred to in the IT as pass-by traffic. So it's already in the streets. They'll be going from their house to maybe do some grocery shopping at Kroger, see the car wash, and pull in there. So we're not creating a great amount of additional traffic. It's already there. We're just pulling it from the adjacent streets into the site. In addition to that, the neighborhood node, Gabe addressed it quite well. And then for noise matters. So the vacuum producers that we provide on site, there's only 2 of them. So like every single stall is not going to produce noise. Only the 2 producers that are at the end of the aisles, those produce the suction. And they're fully enclosed in concrete encasements. So I believe at around 30 feet, the noise, like perimeter-wise, the noise dissipates greatly. So it won't impact any of the neighboring properties.
Just one other few things, and I appreciate this additional time to speak. This impact on overall environment, the proposed redevelopment of the property not only doesn't impact overall environment, it enhances it. The site is currently nearly empty of natural features. Our plan not only includes robust landscaping, but also provides benches, wide walkways for pedestrian traffic. We spoke about the permeable pavers, spoke about the solar panels. We do an above-ground bioretention along the property frontage, underground detention system with an isolated rows of water quality treatment method, green wall, trellis-type system, and we're using 90% of the water. We're spending $1.5 million on the car wash itself and the equipment. And we use, all the chemicals are also biodegradable. From a special use approval specific requirements, we believe the plan satisfies all 4 requirements of section 6.29 of the ordinance specific to auto washes. Number 1, the lot size exceeds 15,000 square feet. 2, washing activities occur within an enclosed building and vacuum area at least 50 feet from adjacent property, using mechanical dryer at the end of the wash cycle. And 4th, the wash bay is designed to prevent pooling or freezing of water. We think we hit the neighborhood node. This is a use that the neighborhood will utilize. 80% of people wash their cars. There's no car wash within the immediate area that people can utilize. So we are bringing a great cake, a great frosting, and great candles. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud of this project. And you guys will be able to point to every other developer, every other user who wants to be in the city of Troy and say, why can't you do that? Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that clarified some things for everyone. Okay.
But the clarification on the kitchen and the parking space required when people come there to grab food has not been clarified. Where are they going to park?
I think there's 37 parking spaces on this site. They know their business. My guess is they know the data. They've got data that in real time, they know on a Saturday in May when the weather is certain degrees, they can probably predict within 5 cars how many cars they're going to get in an hour. It's an accessory use to the car wash. I think they would have the wherewithal to figure out what events are going to work, when they're going to work, and how to manage that space. It's an accessory amenity to a car wash.
Yes, Mr. Beekner.
I'd make a resolution if you'd let me.
Sure.
I resolve that the special use approval and primary site plan approval for the proposed L Car Wash northwest corner of Long Lake and DeQuinder, 2955 and 2995 East Long Lake, Section 12, currently zoned neighborhood node, J District be granted. The one change that I would make is to get rid of the ephes and make it brick.
I'll second that.
There's also
okay, there's
discussion
some other-
about
okay.
reducing the amount of vacuums from 30 to 25.
I would add that, Kathy, to go from 30 to 25 vacuums.
Anything else before I second, guys? Okay, now I second.
Okay, we have a resolution on the floor. Any discussion? Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Lambert.
I haven't said anything until now because I wanted to see what resolution was going to come out, and I have no idea if this is going to pass or not, but just looking at the neighborhood around there, two gas stations at the corner, both opposite corners, the Kroger's across the street, an Arby's, a Taco Bell. I think this will be a good improvement to that location. It's not prohibited by the neighborhood node, and I think that compliments to the applicant for trying to meet some of the suggestions we made at our previous meeting. I like the fact that there's going to be a nonprofit using the upper floor. I asked for some kind of a sign out in front that would show it's not just a car wash, but it has a community use. The appearance is going to be a nice improvement to that intersection. And also all the sustainability features that have been added to the site. So I will be voting yes on the resolution.
Thank you. All right, I think if no one else has anything, we'll go ahead and take the vote. We're ready?
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malalahali?
No.
Ms. Parakis?
No.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Beekner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
No.
Mr. Fox?
No.
Mr. Hudson?
No.
4 yeses, 5 noes.
Okay, so it did not pass. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I've got, moving on to the next item on our agenda is a preliminary site plan approval. SPJPLN 2024-0016. It's proposed Elevate Troy mixed-use development south of Big Beaver, east of Todd. Address is 1787 and 1985 West Big Beaver. PIN 88-20-29-226-003, 002, and 020. Section 29, currently zoned Big Beaver zoning district. And I believe Mr. Carlisle will be presenting.
Yes, thank you. And before, I'll jump in here. The proposed project is called Elevate. It's a mixed-use project located in Big Beaver. And what I was going to say is it's a very complicated site. Probably one of the more complicated sites I've worked on here in Troy. It truly is it's urban infill as you can get in Troy is this particular site. So just for context, the site where the actual building is proposed is the one outlined in red. However, there are 4 other parcels that are part of this project, all owned by the applicant. Includes the Benihana and the jewelry store are also part of this total site in context. If the planning commission remembers, I think it was three of the back parcels were rezoned by this planning commission to Big Beaver in anticipation of this development coming before you. And you did review a concept plan of this project in the past couple of months as well. We do note that there is going to be a robust shared parking agreement as part of this development as it does move forward. With regards to site layout, the total area of the building and the parking is outlined there in red. The building is the area highlighted in blue. It's proposed for 5 stories in height and includes a mix of retail and residential uses. With regards to parking, there is proposed parking underneath a significant portion of the first floor of the building itself, and there will be shared parking with other uses on site, and the applicant is proposing 7 spaces on Todd Drive, and I'll get to parking in more detail here in a second. In addition, we do note that this is being reviewed under Building Form D of the Big Beaver form-based district, and it does comply with all the dimensional standards for that building form. With regards to layout of the building, the first floor includes 2 retail storefronts that abut Big Beaver and really do add an element of prominence on Big Beaver. And the second and fifth floors, and then the remaining portion of the first floor is first floor parking. The second through fifth floor are 4 floors of luxury style apartments. And in total, the building is approximately 105,000 square feet, with about 5,000 square feet of that being retail, and the remaining 65 are apartments. Parking is complex. There are required, by ordinance, 331 spaces are required. The applicant is providing 272 spaces on site. We do note that there are 7 or 8 proposed spaces on Todd Drive. Todd Drive is a public city street, so you currently can park on Todd Drive. So they're not adding additional parking on Todd Drive. When OHM reviewed this project the last time, they did support the shared parking. However, there's been some arrangements to the site since that review, and the applicant has had to remove some parking that was actually located just to the rear of the building, in between the south property line and the south end of the building. That brought the number of parking spaces below what OHM had originally approved. But in totality, OHM does support the shared parking, but feels that the applicant's about 10 spaces short of what the off-site parking requirement would be for this type of development and shared parking. However, they do note, and we note as well, that if you did count parking on Todd, parking would be sufficient for this particular use. We do note that Ms. Practice noted that when she drove by today, there was already about 6 or 7 parking cars already on Todd. So Todd is already used as a parking arrangement for this particular area. We do note that if this moves forward, and when it moves forward, a shared parking agreement will be reviewed and approved by the city attorney as a condition of approval. There are 4 points of access to the site. There's 1 point of access off Big Beaver. There are 3 off Todd. We do note that the driveway, so into the rear end of the site, there is one-way traffic. The pointer's up there. You can see there's one-way traffic going this way and one-way traffic coming back this way. In review, the drive aisle widths, when you have angle park, has to be a certain width size, and it appears that the drive, based on the angle, this has to be confirmed that it meets the driveway width. There is enough room for them to play with to add another foot or 2, but that just needs to be confirmed as part of engineering. In addition, OHM has reviewed the trip generation for the proposed development and finds that the amount of traffic will not impede or provide an excessive impacts to the Big Beaver Road network. One of the points that we had a long and significant discussion with the applicant throughout this whole project was pedestrian circulation, particularly within the parking lot area. Again, the site is very tight, it's very unique, and there's a lot of different dynamics going on. So the applicant did add, based on our suggestion, a sidewalk that runs the entire length of the eastern end of the property line into the western edge of the building, all the way up to Big Beaver, to provide what we call kind of a pedestrian spine through the development. If the Planning Commission also remembers that we're in consideration of a potential new hotel kind of in this location, as well as a new apartment building in this location. So this spine does provide a direct connection from Todd for those uses all the way up into Big Beaver. We did talk about additional pedestrian connections within the parking lot. There really isn't any room within the existing parking lot without having to remove a significant amount of parking spaces to accommodate additional pedestrian connections in the parking lot. So we do note that pedestrian access to the parking lot is minimal. However, they have provided this connection spine all the way from, again, the rear of the site to the front of the building. Landscaping, again, a very tight site with regards to landscaping. They are meeting the landscaping requirements. We do note, though, that 7 of the required 22 parking lot island spaces are outside or are on the perimeter of the parking lot, so they're asking relief from that section. Again, we note that if they were to put additional parking lot trees into the parking lot, it would reduce the number of spaces, so the amount of shared parking agreement or deviations would be increased if that were to be a requirement put upon by the Planning Commission. We also note that they are proposing a on-site trash enclosure. It's outlined in red, so it's hard to tell here, but this is the edge of the building. This is the drive aisle coming off Big Beaver. This is the jeweler in Benihana. There's a new trash enclosure located here right at the edge of the drive aisle. If the doors are open or they're not fully closed at any point, the doors impede into the drive aisle. We don't think that's a great location for, even if the doors were to be closed, it's just not a great location based on all the activity that's occurring in this particular location for a trash enclosure. And furthermore, it's not screened in accordance with our requirements. So if the applicant is going to keep it there, they need to move it back further into the site or relocate it on site and provide the necessary screening. It's a very nice looking building. The proposed materials include a mix of CMU veneer, stone veneer, metal panels, metal coping, and a significant amount of windows. This is the elevation looking in from Big Beaver into the central drive aisle. This is the proposed retail building with a significant promenade in front for outdoor seating. You can see behind it is where this is where the proposed first floor or at-grade parking is located. We do note that they meet the transparency on Big Beaver. However, there is a requirement of transparency along this elevation. They need 526 square feet. They're providing 451, but they are proposing additional wall design alternatives. We think this is a good compromise to the transparency requirements, and so this is a relief the Planning Commission can consider as part of the site plan. Again, similar to other applications on Big Beaver, this requires to be met the design standards on Big Beaver, as well as the site plan review standards. It is a permitted use, so there are no special use requirements for this. And so, again, we strongly encourage the development of this development on Big Beaver. It does add a vertical mixed-use element and additional housing options that we've been desired on Big Beaver in the master plan. However, in consideration, the Planning Commission should consider the compliance with the Big Beaver design standards, the site plan review standards, the evaluation of the shared parking request, the evaluation of perimeter parking lot trees, and the design alternatives. If the Planning Commission does approve the project, we recommend the conditions that the angle of the parking spaces for the one-way do meet ordinance requirements, relocate the dumpster, provide trash enclosure screening, as well as provide a shared parking agreement to be reviewed by the city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Hudson.
A question for Mr. Carlisle or Sabaton. My memory's getting a little foggy, but I seem to recall that when we had a question on some prior projects with the parking, that the Planning Commission had the ability to modify that requirement?
So in the zoning ordinance, through the site plan review process, the Planning Commission can grant deviations from parking requirements. And that's based on evidence from the applicant that either through shared parking or the use itself doesn't require as much parking as the zoning ordinance requires, the Planning Commission can grant relief from that parking requirements.
So if we've got like 5 or 6 spaces deficient, we could probably correct that during our hearing and deliberations.
Yeah, so by ordinance, there are approximately 50, 60 spaces short, just based on the number, based on what the ordinance requires and what they're providing. We like to use the term right-size parking, so we don't want sites to be overparked. We don't want sites to be underparked. We like to be sites to be parked according to their use. In reviewing of the application, OHM did a complete review based on information provided by the applicant. And before they took out that 14 or so spaces on the site, OHM supported the shared parking, thought the parking was sufficient based on the mix of uses on the site. Since they've had to remove some of the site parking, OHM notes that based on shared parking best practices, they're about 10 spaces short of what they would recommend approval. To offset those 10 spaces short, the applicant has proposed parking on Todd Drive, which is permitted, but as noted, people are already parking on Todd Drive, and also the ordinance doesn't contemplate parking on a public street to offset what's parking required on a site itself. So the question for the Planning Commission tonight is, in discussion with the applicant, are you comfortable with parking provided? If you're not, either they need to provide additional parking or they need to reduce their parking requirements as part of the ordinance, or we have to find some alternatives with the project moving forward.
Thank you.
Ms. Malala Holly.
I have a clarification that I seek. So regarding the transparency calculations on the west side, since they don't have, there are some design elements that have been introduced, like belt course, string courses, cornice, and pilasters. Where exactly are those that you want us to consider for granting them the transparency?
So it's this. So on Big Beaver, they have well over 50%. They have 50% plus requirement here. On this, since this is what we technically call facing a drive or facing a parking lot, they require 30% transparency. They have approximately 25% of the 30% they meet. So basically for 5% additional, they're requiring changes in material such as this line here. It's additional material uses along the wall here. That is under the authority of the Planning Commission to grant relief from that transparency requirement through architectural modifications to that elevation. I believe the applicant's architect is here and can discuss that in greater detail, what the exact material treatment is, but that's what the request is. So, like I said, they need 526 square feet. They're providing 451. So it's a pretty nominal amount of relief requested.
Can I just ask while we're still on this, this is first floor transparency? It doesn't include the whole west?
When we talk about transparency, we look at it from the level of which the pedestrian level as well as if you're driving by in a car. So it's measured from 2 feet to 8 feet off grade. So it's only the first floor from 2 feet to 8 feet off grade.
And why is the east side not required to have?
Because it faces a side yard and that's not required.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Faison, I think, had a question.
Yes, a question on the parking. Somewhere in the packet, it said, Ben, that the primary parking for the residential was going to be underneath the building.
Yeah,
I was curious how many spots are underneath the building.
I believe it's around 50. I can verify that.
But it's 117 required?
Based on the
From the
number of
calculations?
Yes, on the residential units. 38 under the building.
38 and then alongside the building another 10.
Yep. So 48 total in the general area where the blue boxes are about 48 either under the building or along the side here.
Okay.
Perpendicular. Then the remaining amount of parking is either in this location, which is shared with, again, the jeweler in Benihana, as well as all the parking
All
here in
the
the rear.
way
Yeah.
down, right. Okay.
You know, again, this is one we struggle with where in infill urban sites, it's hard to have all your parking right adjacent to or underground or into a building. So, in these types of environment, it's not unusual that residents have to walk a little bit, to get into their unit.
Or you could put a deck in and that would be very expensive, right?
Or you could put a deck in or underground.
Yeah.
And just to add, the parking shortfall is the busiest time of year, so the busiest day, the busiest time of year, which I think the report is an evening in December. So although, you went there at 9:30 in the morning and there was parking on Todd, the busiest time of the year isn't at 9:30 in the morning. It's later in the afternoon when the restaurants are going. So maybe maybe there's no one parking there at, 7 o'clock at night and on a Wednesday in December. I don't know. The reason I don't have a lot of heartburn on contemplating providing that overflow on Todd is for two. One, it's for really busy times when it's like the worst case scenario type of parking scenario. That's number one. Number two, as Mr. Carlisle indicated, this is a really tricky site because it's very urban in terms of its proximity. There's no single-family residential neighbors who are going to be affected by this or going to complain about this. It's a very urban setting and it's in some ways it's a best management practice because the asphalt's already there, the parking's already permitted. They're not having to construct additional asphalt to accommodate. So that's why I'm kind of philosophically okay with this concept at this location.
While we're talking about this, on Todd, I was there, but I saw the sign that said no parking from here to the corner for Big Beaver. But is parking permitted on both sides of Todd? Only on the side of this development? Okay. Mr. Fox?
Kind of pivoting from parking back to the transparency requirement. For the purpose of our ordinance and determining whether or not a building is compliant, how does the planning office factor in first floor parking? Because to me, it's air quotes a hole in the side of the building. How does that factor into calculating transparency overall?
We didn't include that in the transparency calculation.
So either way, in terms of, I guess my question is, for the purposes of the calculation, is that basically counted as a blank wall, or was it just not included at all? Okay. Blank wall. Okay.
Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, I was going to just kind of piggyback on Mr. Savin's comments as well. I don't know how the property owner to the west of Todd feels, but that parking lot for an office building, probably at nighttime, there's hardly anybody parked in there, and it's kind of like as we go forward in this whole parking calculation, we ought to be looking at the Big Beaver corridor and saying, hey, there's a lot of offices that nobody's parked there, so why can't the residents who are using that spot or the people going to the restaurant park across the street?
Well, the simple answer is without permission, it's trespassing.
I understand that, but yes, I understand that. I'm just saying, what are you doing with all that empty parking space?
You're 100% bang on. I was thinking the same thing this morning when I was looking at all that asphalt that's just sitting there. Yeah, this is a challenging site. Just to back up real quick. So this area right here, and I'm not trying to make Jason the applicant cringe here. This is, if you remember, so this was rezoned here from R1E and I think P to BB a year and a half ago. This here is zoned office, and this is the owner is a small office, and Mr. Hamama, Jason has approached this person numerous times trying to get him to sell and the person's not interested. So we have this salient, whatever you want to call it here, that's kind of there, and the person doesn't have to sell. The person has constitutional rights and doesn't want to sell right now and doesn't have to. So it's been really challenging because this is a little bit of how the sausage is made. Jason every couple of months would call me, hey, just to let you know, we talked about that concept. We're still working on it. We're still working on it. And this has been going on for a long, long time. So Mr. Carlisle indicated this is a really challenging infill site. I can confirm it's a really challenging infill site.
Does anyone else have any questions for the planning department before we invite the applicant up? Okay. Are you guys ready to come on up? All right. Please sign in.
Hey everyone, Jason Omama, Encore Development. on the property owner for all adjacent sites as well. So as they've been saying, we've been working on this site for quite a few years, probably 5 to be exact. So it is a challenging site, but I mean, after numerous variations of it, we think we got the right one. Full disclosure, Todd Road, all those cars, those are our cars. So that's our offices, those 6, 7 cars. We pretty much park there just because it's so close to the road, and my staff is usually in and out of the office all day. So it's like the closest point to get in and out of our office, so, yeah. But I mean, we're super excited. I mean, as you guys have seen, I've been up here a handful of times. What we did with the Benihana Diamonds Direct site, I mean, we took a 40-year-old office building, turned it to, mixed use. It's been very successful. Our office that's inside the office product, the 2 floors, we renovated, we're fully occupied. But to piggyback off the parking, you can go in there, doesn't matter, midway through the day, evenings, our parking lot's never full. Whether that be the office tenants, just, it's as full as it is, being that we're 100% occupied, we just don't see the heavy usage of the parking lot. What's nice is Diamonds Direct actually closes at 6 p.m. They get very little traffic, as big of a retail site it is. They don't get a lot of traffic, so by 6 o'clock, they're closed. And the rest of the parking lot and the office building closes. I say most of the tenants leave around 4 or 5 o'clock. You have the entire parking lot to Benihana. And I mean, it doesn't get, I don't even think 50% full, so.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I was going to ask that question about whether you felt that it was over-parked based on the business that's there currently. I mean, I feel like I've been to the Benihana and had trouble finding parking on a Saturday night, but.
Well, maybe like a Saturday night.
On a
It just
Saturday
depends, especially
night.
maybe like during the holidays or
Yeah,
something.
you're right. It was in December.
Typically. Now, keep in
It
mind.
was a December evening.
Keeping that in mind with our new plan, we're adding additional parking, we're paving in the back, so.
So let me ask you, since we're talking about the parking, I did notice I counted the 38 spots on the first floor, and it coincidentally maybe matched your 2 bedrooms. So I'm wondering, are you allotting one of those spots to each 2-bedroom?
We haven't decided exactly how we're gonna lay out the dedicated apartment parking spaces, but we are gonna probably make sure that the closest to the building, those will be apartment parking for the
Okay.
tenants, correct?
So they would be dedicated per unit or just per residents of the building park here? Or would they have a numbered spot?
Probably just residents. Anything like outside of the enclosed area will just be open space for the residents, so it wouldn't technically be reserved for them, like with an actual marking.
Okay. So then the people coming to the restaurant, the brunch place, they would be parking on Todd or way in the back? Where are they parking?
Which brunch place? I'm sorry.
So you have 2
Oh, on the retail side.
on the retail side?
So we have, is it 14 spaces that are 10 spaces that are enclosed? So on the west side of the building, those spaces are dedicated to the retail center.
Oh, they are?
They are,
The
correct.
ones that abut the building?
Correct. The ones that are like cantilevered over the parking spaces on the west side of the building.
Cantilevered
I think maybe if we can get a visual on it.
One sec.
Yeah, those are dedicated to the retail.
Where the handicap spot was, and then there were 10 on that row, which are the ones closest to the building, though?
Correct.
So closest to the building, they're walking up to the north to go to the restaurants. People who live in the building have 38 spots down below, and then anywhere else.
Correct. And you'll see, once we put up the site plan, you'll see where.
Bear with me.
93 is when this item starts, if that's our packet.
93.
Yeah, 93
You can
is
type
when
in the
it starts.
page number on the top.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
I got two screens going. This is Jedi mind tricking me right now, so.
There you go. That's the proposed resolution for this lot.
Okay, we're getting there. Okay.
All right, there you go.
Close.
Yep.
Which one's that, Jim?
One more page, you're good.
Yep.
One more page?
There you go.
There we go.
Page 1.
Painful.
Painful, she just
I
said.
can see the 10 spots to the bottom left, right?
Yep. There we go.
Here we go.
Yep. So if you see, the parking spaces for the retail are the ones that are against the building, and then to the back of it, so to the south, all those parking stalls there, more than likely they'll, yep, right there. Then as you go further south. That's all apartment parking right there.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Another question is that wall that is currently separating the parking lot from the new development to your east. It looks terrible.
Yes, so.
So what's gonna happen to
So
that?
our plan, and we've talked to the property owner there, and he's on board. We're gonna dress it up, maybe do something, maybe some sort of like green wall, which we've done in our other properties, where we use the existing block, and wrap it in a green wall, so.
Like, you mean like greenery? as
Yeah,
in
like greenery,
plants?
it's more of like a paneling material that looks, it's not real, it's artificial, it's meant for the outdoors, but it just kind of gives it more of a, an outdoor green look to it, so.
Okay, and just so I understand too, would there be, the green wall, would there be an area of grass along with that sidewalk that we were talking about?
Don't think we have an area of grass yet, I don't think there's enough room for that.
So you'd just be walking on a sidewalk from south to north?
Correct.
With that green wall on your side and then the parking coming right up to it? Is it barrier-free? Or is it like is it an elevated sidewalk?
It's an elevated.
And how
Jim
many
Butler,
feet is
PA
it?
Group.
Yeah, please sign
it's
in.
I will.
Yeah.
It's an elevated sidewalk 6 inches above the parking surface. So there is an access point that allow pedestrians who are in that back parking field, they can walk towards that crosswalk and then go towards either the restaurants or the apartments. So we do have a connection to that walkway. So you have the wall, the walkway, and then the curb, and then the pavement.
Okay. Yep. Does anyone have questions for the applicant? Ms. Malala Holly?
I seek a clarification on this area here that is near the trash. There are 3 islands with trees, am I correct?
I'm sorry.
Those 3 black spots that I see right next to the trash, those are 3 islands, correct?
So.
They have mulch, I know, there is mention of mulch, but are there trees there? Is there any plan to?
There are trees in here?
There are trees in there,
There's trees in those islands, yes.
okay. Any plan to move them to provide more vehicular access? Because I know to the north of that, it's a 2-way. And to the south of those islands are your parking spots, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is all 2-way traffic through here. There's a drive here and a drive here, so this is all 2-way. There's 1 way this way, and then 1 way back this way. This is all 2-way, and you're allowed to access back at Todd this way. So the only 1-way movement is this way and back this way.
Near the trash location?
Trash, yep, this is 2-way.
2-way, right?
This is 2-way, 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 2-way. This is all 2-way traffic.
So you would come in off of Big Beaver, and you could park in here, drive back in here, drive there, and then exit back out this way. Or you go out the Todd, this way, or that way. So there's 4 points of access.
And you plan to keep the islands as it is with the trees?
Yes, yes. The dumpster, I mean, we don't have a detail on the plan for enclosure. It's meant to be enclosed. We do have landscaping around it. If the gates are open, yes, it would be potential impedance. We do have that setback 2 feet, so it's recessed 2 feet. I don't think it's going to be an impedance because you're going to have the trash truck come in, grab it, and go back out this way. I mean, the only time there'll be any issue is, you know, if the trash truck and a car is there at the same time.
That site specifically?
Yeah, this dumpster is specifically for the retail. All the apartments, there's a trash room internal to the building. And that trash will be taken out. There's a bump here, there's an access here. So the trash will come out, wheel out, and it'll be picked up.
Correct.
So what if one of the apartment folks are deciding to get rid of their couch? Where would they put it?
Well, just from experience, they're not allowed to, I mean, they would have to find a different means. They can't just put a couch next to any trash, trash bin or enclosure. So that's something typically, like, we have other apartments and never been an issue, but they would have to find some way to get that couch out of there by a different method. No trash company would pick that up either way. The one good thing of this site that's I guess unique is we're policing it ourselves since our offices are on the property. We own the adjacent property obviously as well. So it will be, if there's a gate left open or whatever the case is, we have people on site that will make sure that it's closed. So we have property management on site. So
while we're on the topic of trash, I was questioning whether the location of having the trash by the front entrance would be appropriate. I mean, I understand that it's in a different room, but I'm trying to picture, you just mentioned that the trash would get wheeled out. I know how much trash I take out every week from my family. I can't even imagine this huge place having all their trash in something that can be wheeled out, unless it's coming a couple times a day.
Sure. So just to explain how it works. So we have a trash chute on every floor. So on each floor, the tenants will drop their trash, comes down to the central location, which is on the first floor, and it's actually enclosed. So the trash company would come in, they have their own code to open up the gate, they'd bring their machine, wheel it out, dump it, put it back in, and then close the gate. So it's not something that stays outdoors.
Right. And it's not a door like a garage door?
It is. It is a garage door, correct. Yep. Which we already have a garage door on that site because it is secured parking for
Yeah,
the
right.
enclosed
I
tenants.
didn't notice the garage door next to the front door.
We dressed them up.
Because one of my other comments about the entrance was that I felt that, first of all, let me say, congratulations, this is a great project. I really love it, and I think you've done a great job with the site. So, get that out there. I was just going to say, though, the front entrance to the actual living, the apartments, seemed kind of small and unobtrusive. I would have thought it would have been something a little bit more, if it were on Big Beaver, we would have required it to be more of a, here's the entrance. This almost, you look and you're not sure, it's just this little door.
Sure. So, on that. So we put a lot of our amenities on the second floor, on top of the parking, on top of the parking structure and the retail. That entry point, it's a very exclusive entry point, right? It's more for their guests that are coming in. They come in. The second floor is really our main floor. That's where you'll find the gym, co-working space, lounge, so on and so forth. So, yeah.
And the people who park on that first floor, there's an internal door where
Correct.
they would come in.
Correct.
And then while we're on this topic, you were here to hear the previous applicant. They had an elevator in their little building. I question one elevator for this building. I'm picturing somebody moving in and using that elevator to put a king-size bed and get it up there along with all of their furniture. Did you consider a service elevator somewhere?
So it's more of a hybrid. So it is technically a service elevator. It's a larger format elevator that we've put it in our other properties. So you can fit a California King, full-size sofa. So it is an oversized elevator.
But on the day they move in, it's going to be taking up are these lease or for sale units?
So these are lease. So being that it's like a boutique development, smaller, we think we're at 65 units, there's not a lot of move-in, move-outs. And all of our developments are this size. So we make sure we manage the move-in, move-outs very well on those days. So it's never been an issue.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, Mr. Buechner.
I like the look, I like the use in a tight spot, and I'm okay with the west transparency, and I'm okay with the dumpster, just for one person's opinion. Can I ask a couple questions? Can you point out where your office is?
Our office is actually in the Benihana building. Yep, right there.
Do you own that?
I do.
Parcel 2?
Correct.
And I go there quite a bit. Are you worried about humans park where they want to park? If there's one thing I know. So are you worried about people parking there and parking here and parking there, and you could have it earmarked for somebody?
Sure. I guess, good point. But in the evenings, we really don't have, besides Benihana, that's kind of the only clientele that's coming in. The jewelry store is closed, the offices are closed, and it's been managed fairly well. I mean, I've owned that building for, I think we're going on 6 years now. And then, so if you recall, there was an older office building on this property. And we owned that while it was open as an office building. And we really didn't have an issue with like people parking there or walking over. That was never really the case. There was usually enough parking on site.
My next question, the retail that you have in mind, do you have examples of what it could be?
We've had a lot of interest, so we just wanted to get past this stage and really start talking, to more detail with tenants. But everything from coffee shops to, sandwich places to, I think we had a Pilates studio, yoga studio. There's definitely a lot of interest. So retail, I guess call it more fast casual restaurant use, more in and out.
Gotcha. The parking spaces that are furthest away from your development, how nervous would you be making that trek? My bigger question is, if your mom was making that trek, how worried would you be?
Well, not very. So it looks a lot longer than if you actually walk it. Our goal is to have most of the employees, especially like Benihana, like based on their lease, their employees have to park in the furthest spaces. Most of that back parking lot will be employee parking, and it's going to be very well lit. So I wouldn't see it being an issue. Being that we've owned the property for 6+ years, we've never had an issue with like break-ins or anything like that in the vehicles.
My last question, are there sidewalks on Butterfield and Todd?
There is.
There is currently, that'll stay, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Mr. Lambert?
So the one question Mr. Carlisle asked about the dumpster, you're not able to move it anywhere else on the site, is you're pretty much stuck with it right there?
Tough. That's the best spot, I think, most manageable spot.
We had a lot of discussion about dumpsters and rotations. We had it turned actually the other way, but we didn't want the appearance of coming in and seeing the dumpster from Big Beaver. So we rotated it this way, thinking they could come off of Todd, grab it, and go on the way out. It would be close proximity to the retail.
Mm-hmm. The only other question is the parking arrangement or the traffic flow on the south end of the site. You've got two-way there, whereas the rest of the site is all one-way. Are you any concerns about people getting confused? Am I going the right way here, or?
Well, it will be signed.
Yeah.
The one-way movement is just only in this middle section. Everything else is two-way. To answer one of Mr. Carlisle's questions related, in your ordinance, you have between 16 degrees and 37 degrees, you're allowed to have a drive aisle that's 11 feet. This is 37. I checked it this morning, so we do meet your ordinance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, Ms. Malala-Holly?
I must say, I echo Chair Barakis's viewpoint on the elevation of the building. The building has color. I like the glass enclosed balconies. That adds a nice element. And your rooftop, you've done a fantastic job. From the design point of view, this looks very, very nice. And I like the bold lettering on the building too. What does the VA stand for, which is on the other side?
So that's our logo for the brand. It's called Elevate. If you guys are ever in the Royal Oak area, we have one right on Main Street in downtown.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's what I
Yep.
think. And the fact that you are providing parking underneath the building, although it's not for all residents, but at least for some residents, that is a good way to go. Anything that you can do to provide parking, and not use a lot of surface parking. My only question to you is, you said it is going to be for lease, correct? So there'll be renters coming in and going, okay. And you anticipate young families coming in or single people?
Probably a good mix of both. Yeah, probably a good mix of both. So I know there's obviously, as you guys know, there's a ton of demand for both sides, for, families that are moving into Troy as well as, single, executives or whatever the case is, yeah.
Indeed, this area is going to be mostly for people who like to see that and go to the restaurants and have the walkability too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One quick thought.
Yeah, go
So
ahead,
what is
Mr.
the
Kraft.
price range for these apartments?
So I want to say, I think our studios start off at around $1,700. That's on like the low end. And I want to say our 2 bedrooms are probably closer to, in the twos, depending on the size, because there's different sizes. Let's call it maybe $2,500 for a 2 bedroom. But depending on the size, the square footage, that's where it varies.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, I have a few more questions, I'm sorry. Can we take a look at page 139 of the agenda, since you have that up, if you could just type it in? I think that's the fastest way to get there. I hope that's the page I want.
This one?
Yeah, on the,
Is it that page or is it the single
Yeah, that's
photograph?
139, yeah.
Because one,
I see. So this is the one where I said it's covered by trees. It's also on page 128. Could I see it? I'm trying to show the corner, the northeast corner of your building. There it is. That seems, maybe it's just the way it's looking in this drawing, but it seems like that patch right there sort of doesn't look great. You know what I'm saying? On this
What is that?
picture, it looks, this.
Lower right?
Yeah, that thing.
It's great. That's retail, right?
It's because it's the retail strip, but there's no good picture of
Yeah, I
it, because
think-
the other picture, it's covered with trees, because you
Oh,
took it
that's
from
the
across
retail.
the street.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure it looks good. Because people are going to be seeing that from Big Beaver driving by, and on that sketch, it looked not very
Correct. So
good.
it would mirror the opposite side. Yeah.
But the other
Yeah.
side, it was all glass. I don't see the
Yeah.
glass. And it wasn't on the page 128, there was no glass. So I was kind of concerned about that.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
there is a picture.
No, it should
one
show
shows
something
it.
on the
Right
front.
there, it shows the
Oh,
front.
right there. I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. There you go.
It seems a little bit strange. Like maybe
she's
there
talking
should
about
be
that corner
some
right
glass.
That corner entrance there.
So I think we add glass.
Yeah, we definitely can. I mean, we could definitely start introducing more glazing elements in there to kind of make it a cohesive
Well,
design.
and
a little
the
bit.
retail tenant, I'm sure that's what they're going to want.
Correct.
They're going to want.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I didn't know if maybe it was a kitchen or something, and so that's why it
No.
looked so
No.
industrial. but it looks too industrial to me.
Yeah.
And because that's on Big Beaver, I know we said it's a side, but everyone going up, I mean, I live right there. I'm going to be walking to that brunch place.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that didn't look great to me.
Yeah, and anybody that's going to move in there is going to want, obviously, more glass, so. Correct. That's something we would add, definitely.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask about your rooftop terrace. You talked about did I see it right, a speakeasy?
Well, on the rooftop, it's more, so that's for the tenants.
Yep.
Just to use, so it's not open to the public. We call it a speakeasy, but it's more of like a lounge for the tenants. You know,
But you're
to
not
come,
serving
hang out.
food
No,
or
no,
drinks.
yeah,
It's
we're
more
not
just a lounge of couches
Correct.
and things like that. I was curious if you're even permitted, I don't know if you're permitted, but are there fire pits up there or you're not allowed?
So we talked about actually putting fire pits on the rooftop. So, you know, once we get further along, we'll
So if
talk
it's
to the fire
allowed, you
department.
would?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those things that go like this, like noise shields, or they look cool?
Yeah,
They do.
those are more of like a decorative element just to enhance the design and environment.
Okay, and then from that view, I was like trying to look over and see what was down there. I understand from the planning department that originally it was going to be parking, and now it looks like maybe a grassy area with some benches maybe, but there was no real good view of that. Can you tell us what the purpose of that area is and what the use will be?
Well, yeah, so it was originally parking, but we couldn't get the parking in there. So, you know, it's probably just going to be like another maybe sitting area, or maybe some benches, green, just for the tenants.
Yeah, we were originally proposing it more as it's like compact parking spaces, but I guess per the ordinance, those weren't allowed.
Okay.
So yeah, we're more or less proposing more green space, maybe a little pocket park. It's still up for discussion.
Or potentially what we've done in the past, maybe that's where we put the bike racks for the tenants, where they could put their bike racks there.
Okay. I mean, it's a huge
Oh,
space.
it is.
So, I mean, I would like to ask that you guys do something with it landscaping-wise and offer something. I love the idea of a pocket park, but I mean, it doesn't have to be open to the public. It can be for residents, but it shouldn't just be
No,
a
it's
bunch of
definitely not going to.
pavement. I'd like to see it landscaped really nice.
Yeah, no, definitely. I foresee it probably for, you know, bike racks, maybe potentially for pets, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like a
Yep.
dog park.
You're going to allow
Yeah,
pets in?
for the residents, yeah.
Okay. Where's the mailroom? Is it on that first floor entrance or
It's
second
not.
floor?
So the mailroom will be on the second floor.
Yeah.
Yep,
So the mail person goes up there? huh?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Have you guys thought about two things, back to parking, is snow removal and guest parking? How are we taking care of those two things?
So snow removal, we do as part of our management company. So snow removal inside of the parking, you're not really going to get much in there. It's enclosed. So it's going to be more of like cleaning up, maybe some salting and stuff by our staff.
I guess what I meant by it is, like, if you have a huge snowfall and you have to push the snow, you lose spots.
Sure.
So is there a place that you can dump the snow so you don't lose spots?
Absolutely. So we would push, right now, we push the snow all the way in the back. Obviously, that's going to be parking now. So there might be another dedicated area, or what we've done in the past is, depending on who does our snow plowing for the year, they'll just bring in the trucks and haul it away on a big snowfall.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the guest parking, how, have you considered, for the tenants of the building, is there a requirement for guest parking? There's no requirement. Okay. So the parking is what it is. Okay, so I understand that the trees are not in the parking lot, and so you're needing a deviation from that as well, right? So one of my observations is that the south side is, that whole south corner, the south and west, is all parking lot on that corner. So that building behind, which it might be a hotel and they want to put an outdoor thing, they're looking at a parking lot. So I'd like to make sure that if you're not going to be putting the trees in the parking lot, because I understand we're going to lose spots, is that it's very well landscaped around the parking lot. So people driving around, that whole area is very green, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
To make it so we're not looking at a parking lot.
No, absolutely. So if you guys have all seen what we've done at the Benihana building, I mean, we put some beautiful landscaping and thought behind it, as well as lighting.
Yeah.
So landscape lighting as well. So no, that's something we would definitely do.
Okay, and the landscape lighting, I know it was approved, so I'm assuming that it's not bothering the neighbors to the east? Okay. Okay, I mean, that's all my questions. I did have one question, it's maybe for our attorney, but in terms of that brunch place that I'm really excited about, is it, if for some reason you get someone in there and then they leave, now your lease, you're going to have an agreement, I'm assuming, that they can only lease the building for those certain hours. Is that how it's going to be written? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So they're telling us now that they're going to put a business in there that only has hours of operation until 3 o'clock because we need the parking in the evening and we're relying on that, and that's going to be part of the shared agreement. But what if that tenant leaves and then you're trying to get a new tenant? Are we making sure that the language in there is going to be whoever runs that spot can only use the parking? I mean, can only use the building up until?
That's what one of your suggestions is. Yeah, I mean, that's, if they're going to rely on a shared parking agreement, which we need to talk about because your agreement is with yourself.
Well, it's a different entity, so.
Right, but
yeah,
I mean,
separate
you own
entity.
both entities?
Correct.
So in terms of enforcing and, I mean, I'm just sort of a shared parking agreement in name only, it's, I mean, so I think this body needs to be confident in the parking arrangements because the shared parking agreement really, it's with himself.
Sure.
So, but yes, I mean, yes, I understand your point. So if you want that shared parking agreement that I'm going to review that says any leases have to dictate those hours so that it complies with the parking agreements, yes, that's something that we will have in the parking agreement. But just keep in mind, the parking agreement is not with, usually we see a shared parking agreement, it's with two different entities.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's two different entities, but it's the same owner.
Right. But I mean, he's still accountable.
Yeah, I mean, we're still accountable. We have to obviously honor the agreements. And let's, back to your question, tenants change, right? So the new tenant is going to have to come and submit their stuff to the city. They're going to have their parking covered, whatever the case is, to get approval with the city. They're going to have to comply with that being, enough parking.
So for example, let's say we do a parking agreement and it says that particular tenant can only have hours of operation that end at 3. And then 10 years later, they come back and somebody wants it and it's a Verizon store and they want to be open till 9. And they make a business case that we never are full. We always have open spots. We think that we can accommodate a Verizon store that's open till 9. Then we can revise that agreement as well.
It's not an agreement with us. The shared parking agreement, the city is just reviewing it. We're not a party to the agreement.
Yeah, I don't really see what the shared parking agreement has to do with the tenant parking requirements because, like right now, based on
But
the
to
retail.
her point is, you're presenting something that you're telling this body that a tenant is only going to be open till 3 p.m. and that's why your parking works. So that's the concern, I think.
So you need to be bound to those terms. I mean, I understand you want the parking to work as well, but if you get someone who will give you more money if they can open longer and you do that, and then all of a sudden parking's a big problem and they're spilling around Todd and down Butterfield and, we want to make sure, I don't want to be overparked, but I want to make sure that your residents and the business, people using your businesses have places to park.
Sure, but that specific tenant is going to have to go get approval for their business based on the amount of seats they have, right? Pull a building permit.
Is that right?
If the tenant changes, we review the use to ensure that there's sufficient parking, simplistically.
And it's going to be very complicated on this site with this situation.
It's complicated from the standpoint of managing the site because as the owner and landlord of all these moving parts, he's going to have to ensure he has the right tenant mix, not only for the number of spaces, but also that mix of when certain uses are busy and when certain uses aren't busy. So it's a juggling act that the owner is going to have to manage because this is, although this is the most urban area arguably in the city, we don't have all these, we're not like Birmingham or Royal Oak where you have these parking decks everywhere where you can just park in the parking deck and walk. if, like, as I was saying to Mr. Lambert, if someone says, well, I'll just park across the street, well, you could get towed unless there's a parking agreement. So there's a lot of onus goes on, the burden goes on the manager, Jason, to ensure that the mix is going to work.
But at the same time, they're asking for relief from this body from the parking requirements. So if this body wants to ensure that the hours of operation are, that's, I mean, I understand her point.
Yes, so if a tenant changes, and Jason says, we got a new tenant, and here's what they propose to do, and we administratively have the authority to review and approve parking studies or parking justifications. We do it administratively all the time. So that can be part of the discussion. You're looking at me inquisitively like I didn't answer.
But they have to have a shared parking agreement, and I think the place to put that, at least initially, is in that parking agreement. Otherwise, what's the point of having the city attorney review the parking agreement if this board is granting relief that they're asking for?
Well, the relief is, we're having a,
Well, I think the point is, there's been a whole analysis submitted to us to review regarding parking, and it was based on a brunch place, which I'm going to be going to.
We're going to get you that brunch place.
Okay, so that's my point. So the question becomes, when we do the shared parking agreement which the city's going to review, I mean, it's very convoluted.
We're not a party to that
because we're not a
agreement.
party to it.
And we're not even an enforcer of the agreement. Once the city attorney approves it, we're not enforcing it. He's enforcing it, or.
the zoning administrator is going to look at it. So if the assumption is you're going to get a brunch place, Bob's brunch place, and then Bob's brunch place falls through and he gets Fred's brunch place, it's kind of a no-brainer. But if it's something else that's comparable, then he makes an argument that it's comparable. If it's different, we have to look at the numbers and ensure it's going to park. But again, we'll do that as part of the review and approval of the proposed use. But it does eventually come back to the owner. I keep pointing at you, Jason. It comes back to the owner because the owner, it's in their best interest to park as on-site and accommodate all the parking, because if not, he's going to lose tenants, residential tenants. He's going to lose retail tenants, restaurant. It's going to be a problem. So he has to manage it, but we'll review and approve the original on a case-by-case basis when we get new tenants.
Okay.
Yeah? Are we there?
I think we're there, but the only question I have is when if there's a resolution and we say this is contingent upon a parking agreement, is it necessary to have a parking agreement? And if so, are we going to put the terms in that the hours of operation are limited?
We do this all the time. So we have retail tenants, multi buildings with multi-retail tenants all over the place, all up and down Rochester. The difference is, for the most part, they park. Like, they don't need, they at no point did they need a parking justification by planning commission. The difference is with this one, and we're getting more mixed use, when those were developed 40 years ago, we didn't have the flexibility like we do now. Now we have the flexibility. So this is a mixed use building, which we want, walkability, mixed use. There's more mental gymnastics, and we don't see a lot of these, but we will, on a case-by-case basis, as tenants change, we'll review the parking study. We may have to adjust it to ensure that it's going to park. The zoning will do that on a case-by-case basis as tenants change.
Okay. And I think this is my last question, totally not relevant to anything we've talked about. On your east side of the building, what is there? I think there is not a wall dividing you between your neighbor, I forget.
No.
And are you counting that as your open space to meet that open space requirement? Are you including that little strip? What is it going to be, grass?
Be grass.
About how many feet? Is it 10 feet? I mean, I know your setback is 10 feet, so I'm just wondering,
We're up against the property line. Where the retail portion is, we're up against the property line, and there's 10 foot of green space.
Okay. I think I got through all my questions. Okay, Mr. Lambert.
This is more directed to Mr. Savin, and I thank Mr. Faison for bringing it to my attention, but the resolution that we have in here is the wrong resolution.
I already pointed it out.
He already pointed it out, and I wanted to get ahead of it and say, and apologize in advance before getting called out. But yeah, it's wrong.
Way wrong.
Sometimes I intend to go off of one as a base and then modify it. I use it as a base, but I forgot to modify it.
The page right above has the correct information that you can insert. Yeah.
What page are you
Mr.
looking at,
Nap
Mr.
time
Lambert?
again.
Page 93.
Page 93 has the proposed resolution, and page 92 has.
Page 93 is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you go up to 92 and under the subject, that's the language you can use to substitute at least the first part.
A good consultant would take the blame on this.
All right, I mean, if no one has any questions for our applicant, let's go ahead and let him sit down.
I got a question.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Krant.
Everything looks elegant. I love it. I love everything about it except one element, and that's covering.
CFIS.
Let's add EFS, cover it with EFS.
It's covering that ugly, simple property line wall between yours and the property to the east of you with some kind of imitation greenery. I was at an event that was in an office building that was converted to apartments. It used to be the old WWJ radio station offices. And I saw it there. It looked like, it doesn't match the quality of the rest of your whole project.
Sure. So that's not fully what, our only option. There'll be other options, but we did do it on our Royal Oak property. So being that it's downtown, the building butts up against single-family homes. So we actually have a whole side between the garage that's transparent between the garage and the neighbor's the neighbor's backyards, and we lined it all up with that same material. There's so much of it out there, they might have used just a real cheap
Point. Yeah, it looked cheap and it's kind of wavy and it didn't look.
Yeah, no, we don't even do it ourselves. There's actually a company that comes in. I mean, this is what they do. And they
I'm
install.
seeing the rest of your project. I'm sure you'll do a fine job, but that was the only thing that looked out of place for me.
I don't blame you, because I've seen a ton of it that doesn't look so good.
Okay.
Okay, I think, Mr. Tagle, did you have any questions or anything for that? Okay, so I think we're good. You can have a seat. We'll turn it back to discussion if anyone has anything else they want to discuss. Mr. Fox?
Yeah, so I wanted to echo points that Chairwoman Parakis made regarding this is a really fantastic design. It's elegant, as Mr. Krent said. And what I really like about it is that, this is a super weird shaped lot. And the fact that this somehow works into some semblance of, well, not just an okay build, a good build that looks fantastic. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page on if we hypothetically approved it, what were the tacked on conditions, because I've lost track of them, admittedly. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what we're discussing in that regard.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was worried you were going to make a resolution and I did want to make sure we listed out what we wanted in there. So we just talked about the wall, making sure it was going to look good. I don't know how we can, do we have a specific requirement?
Put the wall on the west side?
The wall of there's currently a wall on the south side of the property, but running north-south, right between the new development of condos and the parking lot. And it's just a really ugly wall right now. It's about, and it's dirty and it just looks bad. So they're going to do something with that. And then you're going to take another look at the northeast corner of your building to make sure that it's Big Beaver standards. The dumpster, did we ask you to push it back a little bit, or maybe you said it already was where it was going to be? So nothing with the dumpster.
Transparency.
The transparency,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So in regards to the transparency, I believe a couple planning commissioners mentioned that they didn't have an issue with the existing transparency. I think for me specifically, the fact that the way that we calculate it is that the empty missing wall counts as blank wall in terms of calculating the transparency requirements. To me, that means it's probably fine to grant some relief on the transparency. That's just the way I see it, but obviously people are free to disagree with me.
I agree with that. Could we get a picture of that entrance, the entrance? Because I wanted to see where the trash next to the entrance is a garage door, because I didn't notice that before.
Do you want the, can I try using a rendering?
Yeah.
I want a site plan,
No, I wanted an elevation, like a rendering.
a rendering.
Yes.
Should be one on that.
Because I've noticed that the garage door into the garage was glass, isn't it? So what about the garage door into the trash? Can that be
That was
glass
it.
as well?
No,
Frosted?
no, well, it could be frosted.
That show it right there? Can you go back one? Doesn't that show it?
Well, it's very far away.
That shows the pedestrian.
Do 139.
Right.
Yeah, 139.
You can't see the garbage from there?
Yeah, so the garbage, the door that we're talking about is in this central location here.
All right.
On the south side.
Oh, that white
If you look at the floor plan in the package, you'll be able to.
Oh, you mean it's facing south?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not exposed.
Oh,
to-
I
yeah,
see,
correct. So
I see.
if you go to the floor plan at the first floor, we'll be able to outline it.
Yeah, that one, upper left.
What about, so people aren't actually in the trash room dumping stuff?
Correct.
Okay, I mean, one idea would be to make just a frosted, some type of a frosted glass window, just to let light into that area.
Yeah, just to highlight it a bit.
You don't think so?
No, you want it to go away. You want it to blend in with the wall.
Yeah.
Disappear. All right,
Draw
that's fine,
people
that's
to
fine.
it.
I'm fine with it, I'm fine with the
No, that's it.
transparency.
No, I was gonna say, go to the first floor plan, if you keep on going up into
Going
the
up?
set.
Yeah, that one, that first floor plan showed me.
Yep, keep going.
Going?
Yep. Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
It's a black and white.
Right there. So the garage door that's in question right now is in this area here, so it's facing the south. It's not
Can't see it.
exposed.
Because it juts out of the building and the truck can come around and go in?
Correct. So it's in line with the parking aisles where a trash truck could kind of back up into there and pick it up with no disruption.
Okay, and while we have this image up, I have one question also. I'm sure it was reviewed by somebody, I hope. But, you know, if you enter that parking garage and let's say it's packed and there's no parking available, and you turn left and go all the way to the end, is there enough room to make a three-point turn to get out of there?
Yeah, it should have, I think it's depicted in,
Sorry, the interior ones are reserved, so the interior ones, everybody will have a dedicated spot, so that there won't be anybody looking for parking spaces.
So there will always be a spot for someone to pull in?
there.
Okay. Okay, so sorry, thank you.
of course.
Okay, so back to the list that we have going. Go ahead, Mr.
So the
Fox.
two that I have are the wall on the south side of the property will be decorated. I'm just gonna throw out their language to the satisfaction of the planning department, because I think the planning department is aware of what we're looking for in terms of making the wall look somewhat better. Also, the northeast corner will be reevaluated to meet Big Beaver design standards to the satisfaction of the planning department. Something to that extent, but.
Are you guys good with that? Is Ms. Dufresne good with that?
Sure.
Yes, Mr.
I'm just keeping a
Baker.
list, this isn't a motion.
The other details I have in my notes are, the north plot has either landscaping and/or benches and/or a dog park or something similar.
That's the south side of the building.
The north side, right?
No, south.
South side of the building.
Oh, it's on the south?
Yeah.
I know, I thought it was on the
North
north side
side?
facing Big Beaver. It's
Isn't
not.
Big Beaver's on the north side?
What's facing Big
Yeah, but we're
Beaver?
talking about the south side.
Yeah.
That's just retail.
Yep.
So that's on the south side, I missed
Oh,
that, I'm
okay.
sorry. Okay. And then landscaping on the south for where the hotel might be going? You said you would
Oh,
have landscaping there, I would have that in the
That's right.
details.
So it's
I
really,
didn't see it.
it's really four things. So that's right. So make sure that you, satisfaction of the building department that that dog park, whatever area is nicely landscaped, and also that that entire corner of parking, so we're not staring into a parking lot, that it be landscaped in a nice way.
If you look at our landscape plan along Butterfield and Todd, we do have trees and shrubs along that entire periphery.
You didn't have an elevation, it was all just like little
I didn't
X's,
see
and
it.
so, I mean, I saw it, but when it's that view, it's really
Keep going.
hard to know whether we're talking about the same thing in terms of beautiful
Up
landscaping.
step right there. So,
There, I see it.
yeah, through this corridor, we have tree, I know it's hard to see, it's pixelated, but there are trees all the way through here. There's also shrubberies.
That's great.
And in the corner, it even looks like it's even more,
That's great.
Yeah,
right? Okay,
so I think we got it covered.
okay.
Thank you.
To the satisfaction of the planning department.
Yeah, I'm willing to try to go to bat with this resolution. I just want to make sure that this landscape is actually something the building department or like the planning department is comfortable with.
Because if you even see this image with the south side of the building, what it looks like right now, is that, what is that indicating, that scribbly area? Trees?
I thought it was grass.
Sorry, you know, it's kind of a pixelated area, unfortunately. What we have there are trees planted at certain intervals, and then underneath that, we do have rows of hedges
Okay.
to create screening. So it's very nicely done. There's a
Okay.
lot of landscaping in that area.
So there was that rendering from up top, and you could sort of see over, and that's what gave me the idea that you were doing something like a park down there. So that's what we're going for? Okay. Not just grass?
Nope, not just grass.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Lambert?
One other item, in Mr. Carlisle's report, it mentioned that somebody on city staff had not approved the stormwater management plan. Does that need to be included in here as well or not?
I mean, it's underground detention, so it'll be just reviewed as part of engineering review.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Fox.
Okay, I'm willing to give this a go. I just want to make sure, because I'm attempting to make Ms. Zarnecki's life a bit easier instead of making it harder like I normally do. I want to make sure, is the planning department good with the specific language to the satisfaction of the planning department? I just want to make sure that's something staff is actually comfortable with before I go and start throwing the language around.
I'm comfortable with it if the planning commission, if a majority of planning commission places trust in the planning department, then I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, this is dumb.
Well, then I suppose on that note, I am willing to take a shot at a resolution. So the resolution's on 93, and then the language we have to borrow to correct is on 92.
Thank you.
Resolved, that the proposed Elevate Troy mixed-use development south of Big Beaver, east of Todd, 1787 and 1985 West Big Beaver Road, PIN 88-20-29-226-003-002 and 020, Section 29, currently zoned Big Beaver zoning district, be approved subject to the following. The wall on the south side of the property will be appropriately decorated to the satisfaction of the planning department. The northeast corner will be reevaluated to meet the Big Beaver design standards to the satisfaction of city staff. The southern parking lot and southern plot of land will be landscaped appropriately to create a pleasant view for the adjacent properties to the satisfaction of city staff. Did I hit everything or did I miss some?
One other one, do we also need to require that the trash enclosure screening be compliant with section 13.03? Add that to your
Absolutely,
resolution.
absolutely. That the trash screening be provided and approved to city staff compliant with our zoning ordinance.
And contingent on a parking agreement, a shared parking agreement that's been approved by city attorney.
And contingent on a shared parking agreement that is evaluated and approved by the city attorney.
Are you adding any language about what should be in that parking agreement or no?
My thought is that the enforcement mechanisms did seem to exist the way Mr. Savadan explained it, but I do understand wanting to have an abundance of caution.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
This is what these guys do for a living, is figure out, he'd be screwing himself over if he doesn't have enough parking. He knows what he needs, and I think he would have trouble if he didn't do it right. So I'm okay with the parking, and I'm okay with the transparency.
Is that a second, Mr. Beekner?
I just want to make sure I get my brunch place, though.
Okay.
All right.
I'd second it.
Okay, second from whomever. the chair.
Okay. Any additional discussion?
No? Did you get all that? I want to make sure you're good. Okay.
I think we're ready for the roll call.
Are we ready for?
I think we're ready for the roll call, yep.
Thank you. Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Ms. Malahali?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle? Yes. Mr. Beekner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
And Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, that leads us to other items, which item 8 is general business, and it's the 2025 meeting schedule that was published in our agenda. I think it's on page
166.
Thank you. 166. So if everyone wanted to look at that, give any input about the dates, anyone have any issues?
No, none for me.
Yes, Mr. Lambert.
The only issue that came up was last year, I remember, I think Chairman Parakis had made sure that it didn't cover one of the school breaks. I don't know if you reviewed that to make sure no school breaks were affected by that. So.
Well, what I am going to ask is that March 25th is the Tuesday of Troy School District spring break. So I would ask that only we do not put a public hearing on that date, if you can make a note of that. I think that would be fair.
If, it's a busy schedule. There's very few missed dates. If you wanted to cancel the meeting, it sounds like you don't intend to be there, possibly?
I probably won't be there. I hope I'm not
I
here.
won't be there.
So there's at least 2. We're already down 2. We know.
It's appropriate.
We were down 3.
Yeah, and we couldn't do business.
We couldn't
yeah.
do business.
I mean, if everyone's fine with it, I would like to cancel it. I just remember being on the other end and not appreciating when a public hearing that I wanted to attend was during a holiday that I couldn't be there. So I'm always very sensitive to that. But if everyone's fine canceling that particular meeting, that's even better.
And this will be posted probably tomorrow. So any potential applicant is going to know what the dates are.
Okay.
And we'll know in advance so we can schedule meetings accordingly.
Perfect. All right, so we'll go ahead and remove the March 25th date. Yes, Mr. Fox.
Yep, and just while we're discussing dates, I don't believe it does, but I just want to confirm this doesn't intersect with any municipal elections we have coming up, because I know Tuesdays.
I think it was vetted with,
Okay, perfect.
with the clerk's office.
Fantastic.
Okay, does anyone, we have to make a motion, right? Does anyone, yep, Mr. Lambert.
I was going to move to approve the regular meeting dates for the Planning Commission for 2025 with one amendment to delete the March 25th date.
Does anyone second that?
Second.
By Mr. Fox. I think we're ready for the roll call.
Ms. Malahali?
Yes.
Ms. Parakis?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Beekner?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Public comment for items on the agenda? Seeing nobody here, I think we'll close that. And we are at Planning Commission comment, and I will start with Mr. Fox.
Well, I know parking was something obviously we discussed in depth today, and I did note that we had an emailed public comment that was inquiring about the parking evaluation. That's part of the whole ordinance rewrite. I know that we're also bundling this with a number of other kind of larger concept changes post the approval of the master plan. So just curious, everything's progressing fine? Any notable updates with all that, or?
With the nodes?
With the parking. We've had previous discussions about the parking requirement, if we overpark Troy based on the ordinance, or just taking a look at what our parking standards are.
Yeah, we haven't started that in part because, I mean, I've got a planning consultant budget. Right now, we're focusing our efforts on neighborhood nodes.
Okay.
We've got subcommittee meetings. I just want to kind of make sure that we're managing that budget appropriately. We're not quite finished coming out of the subcommittee with the neighborhood knows we're close. But I just want to, from a management standpoint, not only in terms of the budget, but also time and meetings and whatnot, we're ready to go, but we haven't commenced yet.
Is the intention to still bundle parking with kind of the larger scale ordinance changes we discussed with the post master plan reevaluation?
I think the next, after the nodes, I think the whether it's 1A or 1B, I think we need to look at North Troy and focus on coming up with, having a discussion, but I think we want to come up with a zoning district that's flexible but predictable for North Troy to encourage reinvestment and repurposing of vacant parking lots and underperforming buildings, et cetera. That's a priority, and as well as parking. I think North Troy is perhaps more of a priority, but that's debatable. So we're going to be busy with some ordinance changes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Mr. Buechner? Mr. Hudson?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Faison?
Hey, Brent, you mentioned the node and the subcommittee. What's the next steps with that in terms of timing?
So we had a meeting recently to talk about some of the amended language. That's done. I'm just doing the maps. I should have that done and out to the subcommittee this week. Depending if the subcommittee is good with it, either if they are good with it, we'll come back to the planning commission as a whole with a recommendation or discussion, and then have a public hearing and then forward to city council. However, the subcommittee may want to have one additional meeting before it comes back to the planning commission. So either we'll have one meeting with the subcommittee and then come to the planning commission and hopefully maybe just the December meeting. If not, then we would come to the planning commission as soon as possible and then have a public hearing and move it on to city council. So I think by early next year, it should be forwarded to the city council for consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Lambert?
Just as a request, when it comes down to them, either Mr. Dufresne or Mr. Sabanet, let us update us on next week's ZBA meeting that's dealing with an issue that was originally in front of the commission, so.
All of the issues were in front of this board before.
Okay.
Ms. Malala Holly?
Nothing, thanks.
Mr. Kren?
Just a reminder again about Oakland County's planners gathering. They're having a virtual one a week from today, November 19th, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. The subject is called the Oakland Together Housing Trust Fund. Evidently, there's money in Oakland County to assist homeowners. So anyway, if you want to listen in, it's a week from today at 10 a.m.
That's good. Thank you. Mr. Tagle?
Yes, Mr. Sabanet, do you have any update or knowledge of the daycare center that was approved for the northwest corner of Waddles and Crooks?
I'm not aware of any hiccups, but I could look into it and come back to you.
There was a realtor's sign up on that property again, and I didn't know if the project fell through or what. So I'm just curious.
That surprises me. I'm not aware of any hiccups.
It's interesting. I had the same thought driving by, wondering why it hadn't started. Ms. Dufresne?
Did you want me to update tonight for the ZBA meeting?
It's appropriate.
Well, yeah, I'm hesitant a little bit just because the meeting is forthcoming, but just for those of you who may not follow, the Waddle Square Apartments, there were 2 residents in the neighborhood that filed an appeal to Zoning Board of Appeals. That will be on the November 19th meeting, public hearing for ZBA. The first issue that ZBA is going to have to grapple with is whether or not those 2 applicants even have standing to challenge the decision. And if they get over that hurdle, then the issue is whether or not this body abused its discretion in saying that the project complied with the zoning ordinance. So that there's 2 items because it's 2 separate applicants. One is a gentleman who lives on Wayfarer, and the other gentleman lives on McGraw. One backs up to the project, and the other one is like his house is, the side of his house is on the proper side of the project. And then the other ZBA appeal, it's not an appeal, it's a variance request. Mr. Apahidian, who was before this board regarding the street vacation, he's not appealing the street vacation decision, but now he is seeking a variance from ZBA with respect to adding an addition on his home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Savidat? Mr. Carlisle? Okay, I was just going to say, I was curious if there's anyone else attending the Forum Flats grand opening on, it's this Thursday at 2 o'clock?
Gonna go.
Okay, I'm planning on being there.
I'll be there.
Cool. All right, so we'll see some of you there.
Don't discuss business.
That's right.
Yep, that's right.
We're not a quorum, it's just three of us.
4, but
The fourth,
anyway,
I missed the fourth.
all right, good night, everyone. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.